What's up and welcome back to another live stream unboxing review test not durability testing. We're not doing durability testing. We are doing all sorts of testing on this, but no durability testing today. But we are going to be testing the display. We're going to be benchmarking this thing. We're going to be testing the keyboard, the mouse, the Windows Hello, the webcam. We're going to be taking the bottom off. We're going to see what the internals look like, what the upgradability is going to be like on this thing, and we're going to see what the performance is with this RTX 4060 for $1449. Now, we did have the Gigabyte G5, which I did a unboxing with. We had some issues with it, with the power adapter and some other stuff, and then this is clearly not as premium a device as the Zephyrus G16. That is very clear to me. And I think the other big thing is pricing. Like, this thing's cheaper. This thing is $1449, so it's a $350 price difference between these two devices. And so we're going to be trying to answer the question, is it worth spending the extra $350 for the Zephyrus G16 versus the Gigabyte G5? So that's one of the questions we're going to try to go for today. This does have a higher power limit. It does have a better CPU. This does have 16 gigs of RAM. This has a better display. This has Windows Hello. Those are like 5 really nice features to have for $350 more. So there's a lot of going back and forth that I think these two are going to have in terms of value versus performance. But yeah, we'll have to see how everything shakes out today. Now, this is a little higher wattage, 120 watt. The Gigabyte G5 is only 75 watt 4060. So this should, in theory, be a lot faster, especially in Timespy and in some general gaming. And then hopefully we're not going to run into stuttering with this being 16 gigs of DDR4 3200 megahertz RAM. And the Gigabyte G5 only had one stick of 8 gigs of RAM, which is just not enough for some modern games to play smoothly, right? So anyway, I'm really excited about this because I know the Zephyrus lineup is a great laptop lineup. So let's go over all the key specs, and we'll talk about the primary competitors versus the G16 before we get started. Yeah, it's 120 watt with dynamic boost, I believe, but we're going to see how it actually performs because some 120 watts only get 120 watts in extremely rare circumstances, but hopefully this boosts to 120 watt pretty often, but maybe it'll only be 100 watt in most games. We're going to find out. I believe it's 100 plus 20. So here's my laptop list. I have a top deals for gaming laptops available now. These are going to be laptops that you can order right away. So I would, for example, put the Strix G18 in here. If it was in stock, it'll come up into this list. But the very best laptops that I think offer the best bang for the buck in the current laptop lineup space are going to be in this top deals. So that means laptops that are on sale for RTX 3000 laptops, because right now those deals are only going to be here for a little while, and eventually all the RTX 3000 laptops are going to be pretty much sold out, except for maybe they're going to probably keep making 3050s and maybe 3060s. But like the 3070, 3070 Ti, those laptops are going to go away when they all sell out eventually here, say within a few months, maybe even 6 months from now. They won't be available. You'll only be able to buy them used. So the downside to the RTX 3000 laptops, of course, no frame generation and less power efficient. They don't have the new 4 nanometer and Ada architecture. So yeah, just going over these top deals, we got the Lenovo Legion 5. This guy's got a good amount of value, a decent display, especially for the price. So right now it's $1249, but you get a 2 terabytes of SSD space for that, and it's got a Ryzen 7 6800H. So I feel like that's a good value for the price. The Zephyrus G16, this is the laptop that we are currently looking at unboxing today, and this guy is got an i7-13620H RTX 4060 up to 120 watts. Supposedly, we're going to test that. 16 gigs of DDR4 3200, 512 gig SSD, and it's a full HD. Plus, so 16 by 10, 165 hertz, 100% sRGB, and supposed to be 300 nits. Again, we're going to test that with my display checker, and we'll see how bright it is and how colorful it is. Now, this is a very portable device, weighing only 4.4 pounds. So a 16-inch device weighing 4.4 pounds, that's extremely lightweight for a 16-inch device, especially one that features as nice of parts as this one. So if you wanted to actually pick this one up, I believe it's still in stock over here on Best Buy. So there's a link on the video description down below to the Zephyrus G16, and you can check out this laptop comparison sheet right here that I'm pulling all these links off of and jumping around on. There's so much information on this sheet, and we're going to keep adding more and more. But basically, every single RTX 4000 series laptop that you can buy right now is on this sheet, and many of them have reviews and ratings, benchmark data, tons of links in here for benchmark sources, and you can see all these Timespy numbers and Cinebench numbers. And we're going to keep adding more and more data into this, and we're going to be updating this daily. So if you want to follow this list, you can get daily updates for all the changes and new laptops that come into stock or things that are added to the list. And we do send that out every day, pretty much. So yeah. Yeah, I think the other big standout one is this Legion 5 right now with the 3070 Ti. It does no frame gen, but $1499 with a 2 terabyte SSD. The 2 terabyte SSD is really what pushes me over the top for thinking this Legion 5 has got a lot of value. Another great competitor for the Zephyrus G16 that we're looking at, probably the #1 competitor I think right now, is this MSI Pulse 15. It's got an i7 13620H, so the same processor. RTX 4060, 140 watts supposedly. Supposed to go to 140 watts, so faster than this one. 16 gigs of RAM, DDR5, 5200, so faster DDR5 memory than this one. A 1 terabyte SSD, which is bigger than the one that's in this one. Right? This is only a 512 gig SSD. And most importantly, this has a QHD 165 hertz display with a high color gamut. So all of those things factored together, and I think from a raw specs perspective, in some ways the Pulse is better than the Zephyrus G16, but you are getting some nice things on this G16 here that we can have a high level of confidence in, like the build quality, I believe, is very nice on the G16. The keyboard and the trackpad are excellent, and the portability and Windows Hello is also great on here. So there's a lot of pros and cons bouncing around here, but overall, I'm really looking forward to checking out this G16. The last, let's see here, the last couple deals on here to talk about would be the Aorus 17H RTX 4080. It's only 150 watt 4080, but it does perform. Downside of this one, only a full HD 360 hertz display. So get this one maybe if you're into esports games. This one should perform well for that. The Aorus 17H. I mean, it'll do fine for other types of games too, but being only a full HD display rather than QHD, at a 17-inch size, I think is a drawback. Yeah, that said, we do have the Omen 17 with a 4080 for $2399. So almost the next cheapest 4080 here is the Omen 17. And if you jump up to an RTX 4090, it is $2949 for a QHD 165 hertz display. I think this is a really great bang for the buck, especially since you get 5600 megahertz RAM on this guy. Yeah, I've ordered one of these. I'm going to be reviewing it and seeing how good it actually is. I did see it in person at CES, and it seemed like it was a decent build quality laptop. I didn't spend too much time with it, but it's got a nice port selection and nice feature set. As long as it can deliver the level of performance that I'm hoping it will, I think it's going to be really, really great. Okay, checking in chat. What's up, Kevin? I didn't expect to see DDR4 RAM. Yeah, this is only DDR4. There's not a huge difference in performance between DDR4 and DDR5 memory. Just only in memory-sensitive games are you going to notice much of a difference. And it's probably in the ballpark of at most 5 to 10%, but usually less than 1% difference for GPU-bound games. But it's just going to depend on the game, because some games will have a bigger difference. What's the wattage of that Aorus laptop? The Aorus 17H is 150 watt 4080, so it's not a max TDP Aorus laptop. So can we increase the volume slightly? So I did down the volume of the mic just because I thought it was peaking too much. I'll try increasing the volume a little bit. Let me know if it peaks. I just don't want the audio crackling, so I just turned it up just a little bit. But thanks for the feedback. Alyssa says, I got my GT77 490 over the weekend, and let me tell you, that screen alone is worth every penny. Thanks so much for your awesome reviews. Yeah, that screen is gorgeous. I totally agree with you on that. Okay. I'm hoping for more high refresh rate OLED laptops. That would be really cool. We'll have to see. Kaylin says, you can also upgrade the 17 on the Omen to a QHD 240 hertz for only $50 more. Okay, that's a good option. So Kaylin's one of the guys that helps me manage the list. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so need to double the volume at least. I mean, I basically put it back to where it was, very close to where it was. So I don't want to go too loud. It's hard for me to know how loud to put it. All right, let's go ahead and get into the unboxing, right? So if you're just tuning in, we're going to be taking this sucker apart. We're going to be testing it in tons of different ways today. And at the end, I'm going to give you a summary of what I think about this laptop, the pros and cons and everything that we figured out. And it'll be basically my initial review of this laptop. And yeah, that's basically the goal for today. Is this laptop worth buying? We're going to find out, right? So here we go. Okay, so this is the box. It's actually a pretty cool box. You guys can see this pattern, right? This is the same kind of dot matrix pattern that you get on the back of the laptop display, which I think looks really cool, especially if you get it in the right light. All right, so opening this sucker up. You can see the laptop is propped up. Now, I did open this laptop up, install the drivers, update the drivers, and install the games and benchmark software. I have not tested anything. All I did was install the stuff and restart the laptop, stuff like that. It takes a few hours to get that going if you want to get everything installed. So I just like getting that out of the way so we can do so much more benchmarking and testing of the game. Now, this does come in a plastic wrap, so let's go ahead and take the laptop out. And let's go ahead and take the plastic wrap off. You guys ready? Ready to hear this? Oh, yeah. I love doing this. It feels like Christmas. All right, so there's the plastic wrap off. And I want to mention that I do have a good amount of personal experience with the Zephyrus lineup because my girlfriend Carla, she uses a Zephyrus G16 that I bought with a 3070. That costs $1,800. So it was a bit more expensive than this one. This one's like the little bit lower on the budget, but that one didn't have a webcam. That was probably the biggest gripe she's had with it since she bought it. Since I got it for her, but the thing is, it's been awesome. Like it's not had any problems pretty much, except for one driver issue that she just had to update the drivers and then it went right away. Nothing's broken on it, and she's been using it full time as her laptop now for over 2 years. So good track record in my opinion for the Zephyrus lineup for at least build quality. Now the power cable is about 6 feet long. So it's about my full wingspan, and the power brick is a 240 watt, and it's fairly portable, pretty small for a 240 watt, and it feels nice and premium. You also got a Velcro wrap here, and it is an L-shaped adapter so that it's a little easier to plug in to snake it around the side of the laptop. Now this guy is only about 4 feet long or so it's not quite as long as you would ideally want it to be. In my opinion, I would like this to be like 6 feet long as well, but at least the power cable is 6 feet long, so something is longer, making it easier to plug in when it's off the table. Now, let's do the box here. So I have not checked out what's in this box. Let's take a look. All right. So it's probably your typical warranty information. All right, Zephyrus are pretty thin, right? Yeah, this thing is very thin. It's like we can check on the sheet here. If we go over to my laptop list, I believe we should have it in here. It is 0.81 thickness, so it is much thinner than your typical laptop, and it's also very light for a 16-inch laptop, being 4.4 pounds. So very thin and very light. So you're talking about a laptop that should be judged in the more portable and light category, all right, in terms of its performance and all of that. So you can't really compare apples to apples with this one, say, against like an RTX 3070 that's like 150 watt or something, you know, from last year or a few years ago. So you gotta keep that in mind, right? All right. So Asus warranty information, this should be a 12-month warranty, I believe. And safety precautions for your notebook battery. All right. So that's interesting that they include that. Congratulations on your Asus product purchase. Get started with self-service. They also have a warranty support straight through Best Buy. It's interesting. Please contact Best Buy or Asus for support. Interesting. So basically, Asus is leveraging Best Buy in this scenario. I did buy this from Best Buy for $14.49. Link in the description if you want to check that out, or on the sheet. But yeah, they got the phone number, I believe, is the Best Buy phone number for the support number included on there. So that's pretty interesting. Now, I've always had pretty good experience going into Best Buy and getting my products fixed. I've probably fixed 3 or 4 of my electronics over the last decade at Best Buy. You walk in, you wait in line for 15 minutes, you tell them what's wrong with it. If they can fix it, they take the device for usually a week or 2, get it fixed and deliver it back to you, let you know when you can pick it up. Or alternatively, if they don't think they can get it fixed, like a device is totaled and it's still covered under something like accidental coverage, they just give you a check, basically write you for the full amount of the product's price. Depending on the warranty. Like I usually buy the accidental warranty from Best Buy whenever I do buy the warranty. So I do not have that warranty on this though, so I can't really do that. But yeah, they do offer that accidental warranty if you do buy this through Best Buy, and I do recommend it. It's one of the extended warranties I have used many times and my friends have used, and it's when I have to use it, it's really nice. So it's not been a problem for me so far. Now, not much in that booklet. All right, so here's a brief overview of the laptop ports, microphone array, camera indicator, display panel. And the one thing that's interesting about this laptop is that the G16 is basically reusing or utilizing the same chassis as the Zephyrus M16 from last year, which had the webcam. This one has that webcam now. And so you're getting some of those premium upgrades that the M16 had, but now in the G16 lineup. But we're not using a Ryzen processor anymore. We're using an Intel i7 processor, which is a pretty big transition in my opinion from Asus. They're going away from the Ryzen series. The G14 series still sticking with Ryzen, but the G16 is now Intel. Okay, so let's open this. Oh, let me show you this pattern if I can. All right, so let me zoom in here. Can you see it? There it is. It's like holographic reflective. It's really cool when you catch it in just the right angle. I do think it's excellent for that. Did I get the Helios fixed? I did get the Acer Predator Helios replaced. I returned the old one and got a new one. I have yet to do the unboxing for that. It's on the to-do list, but I've got all these RTX 4000 series laptops that came in now, so I'm like, do I have time to do it even? I don't know. I do want to get... the reason why I kept it is because I'm going to need a RTX 3060 laptop. I'm going to need an RTX 3060 laptop for comparing all of these benchmarks with. So that's kind of why I kept it. So, all right. So, as we do with these unboxing videos, we're going to take the bottom off first. This guy is interesting because they do have this rubber covers on several of these screws, and you can lose those, but it's not really a big deal. All right. So for this, you're going to need... So for this, removing the bottom, you're just going to need a nice Phillips head, like smaller Phillips head screwdriver. Nothing too special. Helps if it's magnetic. These corner screws, I believe at least one of them is a pop-up screw. So you probably want to do those last. I'm scared about the pricing outside of the US. Yeah, I don't know what the pricing is going to be like outside the US, but inside the US, the pricing on this unit is, I think, very competitive. It's not like insanely good pricing, but you know, you're getting a more premium experience with this laptop than you are with many of the other budget laptops, because you do have that Windows Hello, you do have the portability, you do have the higher color gamut, full HD, 16:10 aspect ratio display, and you got that, you know, the portability factor is, you know, people pay a lot for extra portability, right? I'm not sure what the speakers are like on this guy. I know the speakers on the G15 were pretty dang good for a thinner, more portable machine. So I'm very curious to hear the speakers on this thing. We're also going to be testing the speakers, don't worry. All right, so that's not a pop-up screw. Let's check out, is this one a pop-up screw? Yes, it is. Okay, so we have one pop-up screw over here on this side. This lifts up the bottom, making it easier to take the bottom off. We have 3 additional screws here in the middle. We got to make sure we take out, because if you don't take these out, you're not going to get the bottom off. So, unless these don't exist, this thing's not coming up. So I'm using a little plastic piece to try to get this to come up. Oh, come on. Can I get another one up? I want to make sure that they're actually... Are there screws down here? There are screws. So you do have to get these little rubber things off. I kind of wish they just didn't include these rubber things. Like, what's the point of these little rubber pieces anyway? Like, it's kind of pointless. Like, none of the other screw holes are covered, and that's fine. Like, who cares if these have real rubber covers or not? They're just more annoying to deal with, and they get lost. So, honestly, if I own this laptop, I might just throw these little rubber covers away, because they're going to get lost anyway, probably. Okay, so we got the covers off. Let's go ahead and take these screws out as well. Come on up. Yeah, you're going to kind of need a magnetic screwdriver to get these middle ones up, because they don't go above the edge. I'll put these a little higher. Okay. Beautiful. All right, so we should have all of the screws out at this point. Let's rotate around into the AM with the glorious t-shirts. Link in the description for 10% off. I do enjoy their t-shirts a lot. And you can too. They actually make a lot of different kinds of t-shirts, not just graphic tees, but I like their products because they're really high quality. All right, so popping this sucker up. Just using the guitar pick style first. I think it's coming up. It's not really making a noise, but I'm seeing a gap forming, so that's a good sign. Oh, that's really easy to get up. I like that. I love laptops that are easy to take apart. And honestly, to me, that's a premium feature, right? Sometimes a really expensive laptop is super hard to take apart, and it's just really annoying. Like the GE78HX was one of the harder laptops to take apart that I've recently taken apart. So, all right, so we got the bottom up. Let's go ahead and rotate the camera back. All right, for the big reveal, let's see this thermal cooling solution. All right, well, what do we have here? Ooh, oh, I'm seeing some interesting juicy bits already. Okay, interesting. All right, so let's start with the battery. We have a 90 watt-hour battery. They did a good job pretty much of maximizing out the sizing of, utilizing all the space in this laptop, making it as compact as they could. We've got our speakers, down-firing speakers here. I believe there are also up-firing speakers on the left and right of the keyboard. I'm not sure if we're gonna have good spatial audio with this machine, but I don't think we will, most likely. Now, we have our VRMs covered with this dedicated heat pipe here. The exhaust goes out 4 different exhaust areas, one on the right, one on the left, 2 along the back here. There is no third fan. It's a 2-fan system. Let me rotate the camera around so you can see this a little bit better. All right, now it's very clear that, look at this, shaboom, empty memory slot. It's going to make for easy upgradability, but the downside is out of the box, you're only going to have single channel memory performance, which is not going to be as high of performance. Now, the nice thing is if you grab another 16 gig stick, you get up to 32 gigs without having to throw any RAM away. So this adds nice upgradability, but a little bit slower performance out of the box. So that's kind of a bummer. And good thing at the same time. All right, so it's a mixed bag with this. Overall, I would prefer probably if it came with dual channel 16 gigs is probably the way I would prefer it to come. But at least I'm guessing the other stick is soldered onto the motherboard on the other side. So what this means is essentially, since all 16 gigs are soldered, this gives you more upgrade memory, more memory upgrade capacity is what that gives you basically. All right. Now we have a second empty M.2 slot here, and we have our 512 gig SSD right here. And moving on to our thermal layout, we've got our GPU over here. We've got 1 dedicated GPU, 3 shared GPU heat pipes right here that go on both sides of the fans, and then the VRM heat pipe here goes across both the VRMs for the CPU and the GPU. Now, this heat pipe right here is dedicated just to the CPU. So both the GPU and the CPU get their own dedicated heat pipe. That's nice. These little foam things are also interesting. Okay. So these foam things, they actually help route the air. They basically, the bottom of the chassis presses against them and it helps route the intake of air. So I'm guessing this helps prevent, taking in like residual warmer air. And so it just takes the fresh, cooler air from the outside. I like this. It's a nice little extra touch, and I'm sure that helps improve the thermal performance of this laptop just a little bit more, having these little foam rests. Let me zoom in so you can kind of see those a little better. But you see they're kind of raised up here. And basically, it's going to suck air just from the fan intake or maybe from this area. Maybe there's a keyboard intake right here or something. I don't know. But most likely, it's sucking air from the bottom as well as the keyboard. Okay, our Wi-Fi. Let's see what our Wi-Fi module is on this. It is an Intel AX something. It's being blocked by the tape. Intel AX 211. I can't. The font is so tiny. I got to lift it up a little bit. Yeah, it's an Intel AX 211 NGW. All right, and that should give us, I believe it's a Wi-Fi 6E. I should double check, but I'm pretty sure that's a Wi-Fi 6E Wi-Fi adapter. Let me double check. I want to make sure that everything's correct here, so. All right. So I'm looking at the specs here of the Zephyrus G16 lineup, and we would have, I believe, this middle one probably. And it is Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2. All right. So let's get the bottom back on there and get it all screwed tight again. They say the single stick DDR5 is dual channel. They were dual in a single slot. Interesting. Well, that's interesting. Really? Who is saying that? That's interesting. All right. So first step is we got to get this thing popped back together. And I kind of want to get it started. All right, get it started around and not lock everything in necessarily all the way down. But I want to get this pop-up screw screwed in here at the beginning before I screw any of these other screws in. All right, so the pop-up screw is nice and screwed. And now I'm going to make sure everything else is real tight. All right, I think that's good. Overall, a very easy laptop chassis to take apart and put together, which is, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It makes it easier to upgrade, especially compared to some of these laptops these days. Is there any good 17-inch version of this? Not really. I don't believe so. If you really wanted a bigger, light weight device, I don't know. I mean, there is the MSI Studio 17, but I just don't. It's hard for me to recommend that laptop. So. You say single channel DDR5 is not as bad as DDR4, so it's not as big a deal. But this is DDR4, is it not? This is a DDR4 laptop, right? It's supposed to be DDR4 3200. So is that still a problem? I think it might be, but we'll see. You're saying in general. Oh, okay, gotcha. MSI started rolling out 40 series with 40, 50s, and 60s for around 2080s. Where is here? You say here. I'm sure you're talking about your country, but where is that located? Because pricing is wildly different depending on where you're located. Like United States pricing is usually pretty good. Comparatively speaking, it's pretty good most of the time. Though sometimes we're like late to the ball game getting some of these laptop releases, like the Acer Predator Helios series is just not even releasing right now in the United States. Would I recommend the G16 or G16 or M16? I feel like I need to actually test out both before I can say more conclusively, but this G16 is basically the reincarnation of the M16 in a new chassis, like it's the new version of it. And then the Alienware M16 was redesigned to be slightly better this year. All right, so one thing you should know about this laptop, if you don't know already, let me lower this so you can see this a little better. All right. So when I raise this laptop up, right, notice what happens with the hinge. It raises the keyboard deck up to let more air under the fan area here. So it's a subtle change, but that will improve temperatures just a little bit. I like Asus's ingenuity there. But today, as always, we'll still be raising the back up with my little trusty SSD. Anyway, so why are we not starting up? Very weird that we're not getting a boot up. Let me make sure that we're... I mean, it should start up now without it being plugged in, but let me go ahead and plug it in. It's showing power. Okay, weird. Weird that it, maybe because we took the bottom off, it made me plug it back in. I don't know. I don't know how, if it's able to tell. But I'd already turned it on, so it should be able to turn on without, you know, the power plug being plugged into it. But during your first boot up, you do need to plug the power adapter in order to get it going. But that shouldn't have been the case this time, because I have already turned this on and updated it and installed the drivers and stuff. So, did you guys hear that? That is the sound it makes when it boots up. And you can change that sound. You can customize it to be enabled or disabled. Here's Windows Hello. Logged us right in, which is what we're looking for. Beautiful. All right, so this is a good camera angle to do the flex. I can already tell you this display is a little bit higher quality than the displays on like the Gigabyte G5 or MSI Katana. So that's good. All right, so let's go ahead and do a flex test of the laptop chassis. I do have it in white keyboard backlight mode right now, okay? So this white keyboard backlight mode, I think just looks a little bit better than when it changes to like orange and red and all of that. But if you like multicolors, that's fine. But this to me looks classy or more like a MacBook Pro. And I think it should just be this color default out of the box, I think, okay? Anyway, all right. So here we are. Let's do the flex test. All right, so going around the corner, no flex, maybe a tiny bit of flex. Basically, touchpad has just a little bit of flex as expected. You're not going to press that hard on the touchpad normally, though. No flex, a little bit of bendy right here. No flex in the corner. Along the top, in the middle here, just a little bit of flex. Overall, very good, I think. And no flex, again, in the corners, solidly built in the sides. I love that. Going through the middle now, a bit of flex by the keyboard and touchpad as expected, but nothing extraordinarily bad or anything. Very good overall chassis rigidity for this price range. Above average for sure. I love that. This is the QHD version? No, this is the full HD. But the display is still pretty nice at 300 nits and 100% sRGB coverage. So it's colorful, 165 hertz. So hopefully there's no ghosting or anything like that on the display. All right, so why don't we go ahead and test the display next, right? I mean, we got the display tool checker and I already got it installed. So let's find out how colorful it actually is when you measure it. Now, just because they claim it's 300 nits doesn't mean it actually is 300 nits. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's a little less. But oftentimes those claims are given to the manufacturer by the display maker. And displays have varying quality levels, just like chips, you know, where some of them are slightly brighter or slightly dimmer than others. So your actual display stats will vary a little bit, but it should be within like your base minimums, should be close to 300 nits or higher. Is it okay to play it with a laptop for hours and hours at 70, 90 degrees? Yeah, for a CPU, that's perfectly fine. That's normal. I would not worry about that at all. Ideally, I would like to keep my CPU under 85 if I can, so I don't run into any thermal throttling, bumping into that 100-degree cap. I think it's, from a safety perspective, there's no problems with it going to 100 degrees regularly. But from a performance perspective, it sucks because sometimes when it bounces off that 100-degree thermal threshold, it causes a stutter in your gameplay, which you don't want that. And I have ran a laptop CPU at 100 degrees nonstop for like 4.5 months. It didn't hurt the CPU at all. So Intel claims that it is a, and I was doing CPU crypto mining with it is what I was doing. So it was an extremely heavy CPU load nonstop for 4.5 months, which is going to be more CPU load than what any normal person will ever put on their CPU. Pretty much, at least. All right, so checking. There we are. Let's go ahead and move up a little bit so you can see the display test happening. Yeah, it is 16 by 10. So this laptop has 16 gigs of soldered RAM. To get the best performance, add another 16 gigs of RAM in the empty slot to get dual channel. That's my thoughts as well, Seth. I would agree with that. You're going to get probably anywhere from 5 to 15% performance bump by doing that. Most likely. All right, so 0%. Is this DDR4 or 5? It is DDR4. All right, we're ready to go to 25%. GPU 90 degrees is not recommended. Your limit, usually thermal throttle limit, is 87 degrees on GPUs. You don't want to go to 90, Twizzy. So my GPUs I prefer to keep under 85. My CPU, well, my GPU I prefer to keep under 80 pretty much. My CPU I prefer to keep under 90 at the high end, 85 preferable. And yeah. So if you're bumping into thermal throttling at 80 like 90 degrees on your GPU, you shouldn't, first of all, you shouldn't be getting to 90 degrees at least on your GPU core temps. Maybe on your GPU memory hotspots, that's fine. It can go a little hotter than 85. It could probably go to 90. Or my RTX 4090 when I was crypto mining, it was going to 110 degrees on my RTX 3090. I think I said 3090. It was going to 110 degrees. And it did that I did that for 3.5 months on it, and it was no damage as far as I can tell. Still very high performing. And that was 24 hours a day pretty much. So man, that 3090, when it gets that hot, it is the fans are cranking, and it's not really recommended. I was mainly just doing it as a stress test to see if 110 degrees on GDDR6 memory is damaging or not, and it didn't damage it to the best of my knowledge. So like, when these manufacturers say that it's not going to cause damage up to X temperature range, like, I'm not doubting them anymore because I've done those tests at this point. Yeah, okay, here we are. All right, so now my Spyder 5 Elite, right, it underestimates color gamut by like a few, like usually I think about 9 percentage points. So let's take a look at the actual score results here. And you can see we're getting 94% of sRGB coverage, 73% of Adobe RGB, 73% of the P3 color gamut. That's very good for kind of a budgety laptop like this, under $1,500. Our contrast ratio, well, let's do our brightness first. At 0% was 14 nits. At maximum brightness is 284.4 nits. So not quite the 300 nit rating that they claimed. Does vary from laptop to laptop. Our contrast ratio was 1160:1, which is very good, which will make images look a bit more punchy, just not quite as bright as the 300 nits rating, which is a little bit disappointing. We didn't pass 300 nits, but it's close to the manufacturer rated claim. So I dock them just a little bit for being underestimating their nits or overestimating their nits brightness. But I wouldn't fault them for the color gamut being, 94% is very good. And you can see, look at how colorful this display is on the camera. Like it's a nice display that's gonna, I think it's gonna make a lot of people pretty happy playing games on this. Okay. Certainly a better display than both the Gigabyte G5 or the MSI Katana. All right, so let me get the tools put away. How did I do this? Okay, it's like, all right, there we go. All right, So, what should we load in first? We're going to do Cinebench first. Let's do Cinebench first. So this has an i7 13650H, I believe. i7 13620H, which has 10 total cores. That is, I believe, 6 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, which gives it a total of 16 threads. 16 threads, 6 performance cores, 4 efficiency cores. Let's see what we get in Cinebench R23. I guess I should load into Armory Crate first. All right, let me switch my mouse over here. And I should probably go over the ports. Well, we got it here. All right, let's go over the ports, then we'll do Armory Crate. Yeah, this is good. All right, now when I unplugged it there, it is going into the battery power savings mode, and it sets the screen to 60 hertz refresh rate, which helps save battery, which is good. I like that. All right. Now, taking a look at the ports. Let me go ahead and put these on the ground here. Why not? All right. So we have our power adapter port, our heat exhaust, HDMI 2.1, Ethernet. I believe it's 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. I'm gonna double check. Is it 2.5? They don't say in here what it is, and if they don't say, it makes me think it might be only gigabit. So I'm not sure about that. All right, we've got our Ethernet port. It is upward facing, which makes it easier to get on and off. I like that orientation. We have a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A. And then we have 2 USB-Cs, and one of these is a Thunderbolt 4 with power delivery. Okay, actually both of them support power delivery, and they both are DisplayPort 1.4s. So you can do double displays out here, and one of these displays goes to the integrated GPU. I believe the Thunderbolt here goes to the integrated GPU, and this USB-C goes to NVIDIA graphics card. The HDMI also goes to the NVIDIA graphics card. So you can do your low power GPU, like your integrated graphics presentations on battery life mode without running out of juice very fast. You've got your headset port right here, which is going to be a combo port for your mic and headphones. And then on the right side, you don't have much. You just got one USB-A and a micro SD card slot, all right? And a Kensington lock port, another port here. And then, the rear exhausts actually do bounce off of the exhaust here. The exhaust bounce off of the display, and the display does lay fully flat as well. So you can potentially use that if you're needing to present an image to someone or something. I don't know. Don't ever use it, but maybe someone out there does. So now you know. But overall, the ports on this are a little bit better than what's on the Strix series, because you have the micro SD card slot that you don't have on the Strix series, which is just kind of silly to me. All right, it's just kind of silly. All right. So, voila. I believe we are good to go. All right, so going over Armory Crate. It looks like we're still in 60 hertz mode. So sometimes... So I believe this has Advanced Optimus. Let me double check if it does. It should have Advanced Optimus, I think. So Advanced Optimus, yes. All right. With G-Sync as well, and a mux switch. Now we're supposed to be able to see. We're supposed to be able to see 240 hertz, and I think now it did switch into 165 hertz. It was not at 165 hertz there for a minute. So the resolution on this display is Let me rotate the camera and get it zoomed in a little better and put this down just a little so you guys can see it. And we'll do that. All right, and you can see the resolution is 1920 by 1200, 16 by 10 aspect ratio, okay? So when we're comparing benchmarks today, that's something you're gonna have to keep in mind. And you can see we are at 165 hertz mode now. It wasn't at 165 hertz when I initially plugged it back in, but the second time it flopped back, it actually went to the right refresh rate. Interesting bug there. All right. Check camera focusing. All right, we should be focused. Okay, so here is the Armory Crate software. I do like Armory Crate. It updates well. It updates quickly and easily, reliably, and it just works for me, all right? That's the big thing. Now, if you do press this button right here at the top of the keyboard, you can launch Armory Crate, all right? This launches the Armory Crate app for you. This is also volume up and down, and you can mute your mic with that button as well. All right, and so the Armory Crate app allows us to do a lot of different things like change the performance mode. So you can do silent, performance, turbo. Those are the 3 default modes. And then you have manual fan mode. You can set your own fan curves here. You also have your PL1 and PL2 power limits. We're going to set this up to maximum. We're going to set our manual fans by dragging the left knob up, the left node up. And we're going to do the left node up here as well and move all those up. Our base overclock on the GPU in manual mode is 50 and 100. We have a dynamic boost of up to 20 watts. We're going to leave that enabled. And the thermal target says go all the way up to 87 degrees, but we're going to probably be going higher than that even. Now, this has 8 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM with the RTX 4090, so I like that it has 8 gigs. At 1080p, that should be enough in the vast majority of titles, but maybe not certain ones. You know, for example, like Hogwarts may still struggle, so you might have to turn textures down in certain titles. But at least for a budget laptop, it's not 6 gigs like the 3060 is, right? You know, that's not. This is definitely gonna be a bit more future-proof from a VRAM perspective. Now, GPU mode, you can switch between Ultimate GPU mode, which focuses on your GPU performance by disabling your integrated GPU. So you can no longer do GPU switching. It's like a dedicated performance mode for gaming. Your standard mode is not going to be too much different, but this allows you to actively switch between integrated graphics and your NVIDIA GPU, but your integrated GPU stays on. Eco mode completely disables your NVIDIA GPU, allowing you to assure that your NVIDIA GPU is not going to come on and drain battery life. Now, under optimized, this switches between discrete and integrated GPU, all right? Okay, you can, right here is where you can turn off and on your boot up sound. I guess you can't see that. Whoa. Let me just rotate the camera down a little bit. Okay. All right, and so here you can turn off the boot up sound. And you also have your panel power saver, which that's when you disable the that's when it goes down to 60 hertz refresh rate when you unplug the battery, like unplug the power adapter. All right. Now you can change the color of the lighting in here. All right. So let me turn the exposure down. That should help you guys see this display a little bit better, I think, right? Beautiful. All right, so that should be super sharp. Hopefully, hopefully I don't mess it up again. All right, so here you can change to breathing, static, strobing, and color cycle, or Aura Sync, where you can sync with other devices. Overall, I do like the static white light. It looks good with this gray keyboard. Let us take a look at the keyboard backlight and keyboard layout. So let me raise the camera up a little bit here. and we'll point it down at the keyboard. Right after I got the focus perfect on the display, of course, I'm going to change everything up. And let me turn the lights off so you can see the keyboard backlight a little better. All right, so you can see that the keyboard backlight looks really vibrant and bright, and all of the functions are lit up, including the F1 and F2, F3, F12 keys, which is not the case on the Strix, which is a little sad. Now, when I zoom in here, you can see the additional functionalities, like you can raise and lower the keyboard backlight brightness. You can change the fan mode with FN plus F5. You can change the screen brightness right here with F7 and F8. You've got volume, and the volume up and down, and microphone mute, ROG, the Armory crate launch button right here. Over here on the right side, you do not have full-size arrow keys, but they are very easy to press, easier than the Razer Blade series to press, in my opinion. And so I don't mind these that much. And if you press FN, then you can use home and page up, page down, which you can do that on the Razer as well. But overall, I do like this keyboard. It types well, it has good feel. And yeah, it doesn't have a number pad, but this is a 16-inch device that's very portable and fairly thin, so it's okay if it doesn't have it, I think. I think it's just weird when a big laptop doesn't have it, right? Okay. All right, let's get these lights back on. Is the G16 the new G15? Yes. It basically is a replacement of the G15, but this is using the same chassis of the Zephyrus M16 from last year, refreshed basically with the new lower end hardware, and you're using an Intel CPU instead of a Ryzen CPU. Okay, beautiful. So we were going to do our Cinebench R23. Let's get that going. We're going to hop into manual fan mode once again. And let me get the camera resituated correctly again. Beautiful. All right, and I'm also going to open up the ultimate mode. We're going to restart. We're going to do all our testing in ultimate mode, so that way we can see the performance with the integrated GPU disabled. The M16 was the premium version versus the G16, or G15 had 16:9. The M16 had 16:10 last year. This year, the more budget-friendly G16 series is going to be 16:10, and it utilizes that same design upgrades and changes that the M16 had, including a webcam and Windows Hello. So those are the primary improvements, I think. So yeah. Gizmo, do you have an extra RAM to fill the empty slot? I do. I mean, I could pull one out of one of these other laptops. I'm not going to do that, though. We're going to test it as it comes from the manufacturer. So that's the way I like to test things if I can. And then if it's worth doing a follow-up video, maybe we'll do a follow-up video showcasing the different performance with an extra RAM stick. But I would expect around a 5 to 10% performance bump with the upgraded RAM stick. All right, there's Windows Hello working. A little slow. Maybe a separate video or live. Yeah, if I've got time, that would be my goal. All right, so there's the display. Once again, you can see it is a beautiful display. So we are still in manual mode. Notice our GPU indicator shows that we're utilizing the 4060 right now. So we are going to load into Cinebench R23. My main battle is the Strix G16, Zephyrus G16, M16, 4060. The Strix screen is cool because the screen is higher. Yeah. Yeah, the Strix G16 should have a better display than this model at least, but there should be a better Zephyrus. Yeah, there is going to be a higher quality display in the G16 lineup, but you're going to have to pay more for that. That's going to be a QHD 240 hertz. And I don't see the brightness on it, but I think it's going to be super bright. So this cheaper Zephyrus G16 does not have that. That's going to be at least a 500 nit display on the QHD 240 hertz. I don't think it's mini LED. If you want mini LED in this form factor, you're going to have to go with the Zephyrus M16. All right, that one does have the mini LED. Okay, so let's do a single core run, or sorry, not single core, a multi-core run. Let's do a one run. All right, let's see what we get. I hope this has more than 8 gigs of RAM. Yeah, this has 16 gigs of RAM, but it's all soldered to the memory motherboard. It can be higher than 5 to 10% performance gain depending on the game. I suppose that's true, but on average, if you were to average, say, 20 games, I would expect between 5 and 10% performance gain using dual channel memory. But yeah, some games it may be as high as 20 or 30%, but that's more rare. Can you please tell me if G-Sync is needed at a refresh rate of 240 hertz or such speeds? Does not make sense in this technology. Yeah, I don't think that G-Sync is absolutely necessary. I can't tell when I'm using a laptop with G-Sync or not. All right, so we got 16,888. All right, that's more than the Legion 7i that I had from 2 years ago. All right, that's very good performance. You're going to be able to play games on this very, very well. You're going to be able to do multi-core, multitasking workloads very well. But the new laptops, the better ones, the most powerful i9s are doing like 30,000 or maybe even a little more, like 34,000 when you undervolt it and overclock it and stuff. So nowadays you need 32 gigs of RAM. I think that there are some games like Hogwarts that really do want 32 gigs of RAM, but I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. Maybe in certain titles you'll really notice a difference. We'll have to see if we see any major stuttering today with only single channel 16 gigs of RAM. The Katana 15 with dual channel 16 gigs of RAM did not stutter in Hogwarts like we saw with the Gigabyte G5. So we'll see. All right, so we're going to do one more single core, just see what we get. And then we'll do a 10-minute test. 16,761. So basically the exact same test again. Let's get HW info open. All right. So here we are. Let's get a 10-minute test going. Now there is no undervolting on this laptop right now. Very important to point that out. So our CPU package power is pulling 112 watts, 110 watts. Let's zoom in so you can see this detail information a little better. Very impressive. So far averaging 100 watts. Our temperatures are getting warm though. We're doing 95, 96 degrees, 93 degrees on average. The fans are on maximum fan right now, and they are about as loud as your typical gaming laptop fans. So this is not necessarily designed to be a quiet laptop. It's designed to be a portable laptop. But you can go into quiet modes with reduced performance, but we're not testing the laptop that way today. We are testing the laptop with max fans to get the most performance we can possibly get. Is the G16 DDR5? No, it is DDR4. I really want the Blade 18, but Intel is so bad in performance per watt. I take every percentage performance and temperature reduction. Intel CPUs are a joke at the moment. I really disagree with that, especially when you get them undervolted. And I mean, I'm seeing great performance on the Blade 18. You know, at only 130 watt power pull, I was still doing 31.6 thousand, like 31,600 in Cinebench R23. I think that was for was that for a 10-minute test? I can't remember if that was a 10-minute test. But and then inside of games, I'm still getting excellent frames and temps, even with only like a 45 watt power pull when you lower in Synapse, when you lower the power wattage down. And like the temperatures are not going above 90 typically, with the fans not being that loud. Like the CPUs are performing pretty dang well, I think, without necessarily having to max everything all the time. That said, the Ryzen 9 7945HX looks super awesome. And it should have better performance per watt. But I wouldn't discount Intel CPUs like that. I think that they are have the potential to outperform Intel or be very competitive. I think Intel has the potential to outperform AMD in certain things, especially maybe gaming. We'll see. But maybe not on a performance per watt, and certainly never for battery life. That's the big thing. The Ryzen CPUs this year are going to have much better battery life overall. So if you're looking for something that's going to get, 6 to 8 hours of battery life when really well optimized, you really got to go with a Ryzen CPU for the most part. Unless you're doing one of those really underpowered Intel CPUs that are, like the U series or whatever. Would you say the Blade 18 is better than the Scar 18 in terms of cooling? A great cooling system is my #1 priority. So I think the Scar 18 has more potential than the Blade 18 to cool more potential air. But in terms of the actual performance delivery, the Scar 18 should also beat the Blade 18 by a little bit, right? But for example, on the Blade 18, undervolting is fully unlocked, and therefore I'm getting better CPU performance on the Blade 18. Just having that fully unlocked CPU is super awesome. Now, my understanding is that we're not going to be able to undervolt this processor because Intel has supposedly locked down undervolting on the H series, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Now, we are almost 5 minutes into this test. We have 100 watts of power still being pulled by the CPU, 90 right now, 94, but it was doing 100 just a second ago. We're averaging 97 watts for our entire duration of the test so far. That's very good. Our core temps on the CPU are 88 degrees though, right? CPU package is 94 degrees. Now, this is excellent performance from a laptop that's this thin and this light, right? The Gigabyte G5, almost the exact same form factor as this one. We were thermal throttling at what? I think it was like 70, 75 watts. We were hitting basically nonstop thermal throttle at 70, 75 watts. So we're doing 25 to 30 more watts through the CPU. And we're hitting just a little bit less on the temperatures. Not quite thermal throttling. We're power limit throttling right at around 100. So obviously, if you want to have better CPU temps, you want to pull those power sliders down in Armory Crate in the manual mode, you can do that. And so you can pull this down so that it doesn't hit 95, 100 watts all the time. Maybe you just want to hit 85 watts. You'll have a little bit less performance, but your temps are probably going to be in like the mid high 70s, mid 80s, or something like that, if you were to reduce the watts on the CPU by about 15 to 20 or something. So you can tune this thing however you want, and you can tune the fan profiles in the same way, right? Like you can tune the fan profiles so that they don't go to maximum fans. Maybe they only go 70, 80% on the fans, and you set the power limits a little bit lower. on the CPU and the GPU, and therefore you can tune this to be as loud or as quiet as you really want, depending on the user. All right, so let's take a look at our core clock speeds. We have averaged 4.2 gigahertz on our performance cores, 3.3 gigahertz on our 4E cores. These are good clock speeds, about the same as what we were getting on the i9 chips. It's just obviously way less cores than what you get on the i9 chip, and less power throughput too. Like on the i9 chip, we're doing like 130 to 100, 190, almost 200 watts in the GT77, and then eventually throttles down to like 140, 135 in that range, depending on which laptop you're talking about. So yeah, this laptop is certainly not as power efficient as the newer i9s, because at only a 100, we're averaging 96 watts of power, and the amount of performance you're getting for the same amount of wattage is not as nearly as high as those i9s that have 24 cores, 32 threads. That said, I mean, it really comes down to your budget, right? Those i9 processors are going to cost a lot more. Like the cheapest one that I've seen is in the Strix G18 for $24.99. So not quite double the price of this. If you're after the most possible CPU performance, though, I believe the Strix G18 with that i9 is close to the peak for performance, including the overall package, I guess, with a nice display and a good GPU. That said, I believe the i9 is still going to come with the Strix G18 if you go with a lower end GPU, I believe. So you might be able to go with like $1,800 for an RTX 4070, I believe, to get that same CPU. I should double check this before I say that. I don't know. I need to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So if you're after the most possible CPU performance, you could also go with something like an i9 13900HX, which is almost as fast as the 13980. And we haven't really seen, I think, the full potential for pricing with the new Dragon Range CPUs either. The Ryzen 9 7945HX has tremendous potential. So let me check chat here. We're in the last minute and a half. Nice. Those clock speeds are quite high. Thanks for checking. Yeah, they are pretty good. The Leafy is Beefy says, any idea when AMD 7000 series based laptops will be out? I have one of them being shipped to me right now. So I've got the Zephyrus Duo 16 being shipped to me right now, and I am looking forward to testing that. It should be getting here soon. Asus said they've shipped it, so I think it's international. Britt Allen says, hey, how's your day? My day is awesome. I woke up, I played with the dogs, fed the dogs, I made breakfast, I went and worked out for an hour and a half, did a pull day. Pull day for me is like, like pull-ups, lat pull-down, bicep curls, stuff like that. Did some cardio, went to Costco, got groceries, got home, continued prepping this laptop because I spent a bunch of time last night and yesterday prepping the Zephyrus G16, getting stuff installed. And so prepped this laptop for final testing, getting the last drivers installed and everything, and then made the thumbnail, and here we are. So, yeah. Bruno asks, do you think the 128-bit memory bus makes the 40,000 series worse than the 30 series with 256-bit memory for pure performance, like a 4070 versus 3070? Who's the winner? Is it worth it? I think you gotta we gotta get the actual full benchmarks across the full suite, and Bruno, I think fundamentally, the core part of that question you got to keep in mind when you're comparing a 4070 and a 3070 is that they're a different tier of GPU in terms of pricing, because NVIDIA bumped the GPU tiers up by 10 with the 4000 series. So the 4090 is equal to the 3080 in terms of both being the best. 3080 Ti. 4080 is equal to the 3070 Ti in terms of being the second best. And then the 4070 being the third best is equal in terms of pricing tiers as the 3060. That said, that's not necessarily how the pricing shakes out with the older gen technology, because older gen technology gets discounted when the new stuff comes out. So you really got to take everything on a price to performance basis as you see the sales happen. All right, so we got 16,000 for our Cinebench R23 score, which is very close to what we were getting overall. I think this is going to be a great CPU performer for someone that needs to do some video editing, render some stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing how it does in games, though. So let's find out how we do in games. We also have not done the backlight bleed test. Let's go ahead and open up the backlight bleed image and see what we're like with this display. Let's make it full screen. All right, and let's turn the lights off here. Wow. The backlight bleed on this is actually pretty good. So I'm kind of, there's my laptop display there is kind of being reflective here, but I'm seeing a little bit of backlight bleed here in the bottom left corner, but very minimal backlight bleed overall. A little bit of backlight bleed in the right corner as well. But in general, very good on the backlight bleed this year, or at least on this unit. It's not bad. It's going to vary from unit to unit though. All right, I think we're ready to load into some games now. Let me show you, before we do that, let's also show you the keyboard and touchpad in action. I especially want to show you the touchpad here, right? So this touchpad is very nice, I think. So this is a glass touchpad. It's very nicely sized. All right, and you got a nice sized wrist rest on the left and right. We're going to see how much these heat up when we're playing games today. I'll let you know. But, you know, when you're typing, touching this touchpad is not a problem at all. I do have accidental touches on my Blade 18 pretty often. But yeah, and then the click on this is really nice. I like the click of this touchpad, probably the best on Windows touchpads, I think. It's a very satisfying click. You cannot click it at the very top, but about 10%, 20% of the way down through the touchpad, it becomes easy to click again. Obviously, if you click in the right side over here, it's a right click. If you double tap as well, it's a right click. But it's large enough for gestures and very smooth and easy to control this glass touchpad. I like it. And the keyboard has nice travel as well. And it's a fairly quiet keyboard. So overall, I really like this keyboard and trackpad combo. It's excellent. Did you see NVIDIA's new drivers cause high CPU usage? Interesting. I don't know. I have not seen that. You'd have to clarify a little more about which driver you're talking about and if there's evidence of it. But we did see some really high CPU usage in some of the games we were testing on, like the Scar 18, right? So it would make sense if that is the case. Hi guys, I'm sorry I'm late. How is the TDP on this laptop? It's supposed to be 120 watt. Oh, I did not get Afterburner installed, so let's get Afterburner installed. Brett, you'd have to email me the link because if you can't post links in the chat. Sorry. Get Warhammer Darktide because it supports FrameGen and DLSS 3. Interesting. Might be worth checking out. For a laptop, lower tier GPUs, could you go with full HD screen considering you can hook up to a monitor? Yeah, I think a full HD screen makes a lot of sense to be paired with like an RTX 4050 or 4060, maybe even a 4070. Because the performance is going to be a lot less, which means it's going to be harder to push QHD frame rates anyway. And so it just makes a lot of sense, I think, going with a full HD display, especially if it's only 16 inches or smaller, because it's harder to tell the resolution difference when it's 16 inches or smaller, right? You can much more easily tell that it's a 1080p display on like a 17 or 18 inch, at least I can. But on a 16-inch, I can kind of tell, but it's not very obvious to me. 531.18 is the driver for the higher CPU usage. Okay, interesting. I do have that driver version installed on this laptop. Is there a noticeable difference between Full HD and QHD on 16-inch? I mean, yeah, you can, but you do have to have good eyesight to tell a difference when it's only 15 or 16 inches. I do have good eyesight without glasses, so I can see the difference. But some people just don't have as good eyesight. They would literally never tell. So your mileage is going to vary a lot in terms of whether you'll notice the resolution increase or not. It's interesting that we're still getting our second GPU. We are in ultimate mode, but it's still picking up the second GPU, which is the integrated Intel. Memory clock. All right. So this is how I set up my my testing for the MSI Afterburner, which I don't do this in every video now that I set it up beforehand, but I forgot today. So here's an example if you ever need to set this up. This is how you do it. Okay, beautiful. So we should be ready to go on that front now. Let us... What do you guys think? Should we do Cyberpunk 2077 first? Let's do Cyberpunk 2077 first. Sounds good. Today we have Cyberpunk 2077, Apex Legends, Dead Space, God of War, Hogwarts, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Witcher 3, I believe. Let me make sure I have a remote play disabled. Just to make sure that all of those are installed. Yeah, they're all installed. Sweet. Now I have not played any of these games yet. I don't know anything about the performance that we should expect today. So, ooh, I can hear those speakers. They sound pretty good. Are we at max volume? We're not even at max volume. We're only at like 70% volume. So I'm gonna have to play with the speakers on high. Are you gonna make a video for battery life test? That's not a bad idea. I've got so many laptops on hand. That would be an interesting video to make. All right, so full screen. We'll do 16:9 here. I gotta turn these speakers down. They're too loud. Ray tracing's on ultra, turning on frame gen. DLSS is on quality. Everything's on max settings right now. So 1080p maximum settings. Let me go to Riva Tuner real quick. We just want to change this a little bit smaller. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, so we're at 16:9 right now. So we can compare with what the Gigabyte G5 and Katana did, right? Let's run this benchmark. Shabaloo. Let me find out what those two did. All right, so... Gigabyte and Katana. I'm hitting like over. Mute that and. Whoa! Cyberpunk crashed. Well, I kept alt tabbing in and out, so it might be my fault. I mean, ideally you shouldn't be crashing anyway, but. It says the display driver is out of date, but I do have the latest driver installed, so I don't know why it's saying that. All right, so it looks like we got was it 60?
VRAM is the biggest. Let's.
Whoa. Oh, okay, so that had no DLSS. Okay, so let's get in here and try this test again. See if we can get this to work. Full screen 1080p. DLSS is on quality. Frame generation is enabled. Let's see how we do. Application was unable to start correctly. Interesting. Did our drivers get installed correctly? Let's hop over into here and see. Currently installed is 528. Okay, so I guess it didn't install. I'm glad we caught this at the beginning. I did go through this install process like an hour and a half ago, or like right before the live stream. So maybe it just failed to install. And I'm doing express install. Normally I do clean install, but just for speed of install's sake, let's let it do. Installation cannot continue. Error occurred extracting the package. Oh, interesting. Okay, so maybe that's why. I mean, it went through last time. I bet we are at maximum. Yeah, we are. Do I gotta delete one of these games? Shoot. Okay, we only have a 512 gig SSD. Let's uninstall Tomb Raider for now. We'll just have to not do Tomb Raider. All right, well, I'm glad we caught this before we went into benchmarking all the games. I really like to have the latest drivers whenever I do my tests. So let me check chat. All right, so just for clarity's sake, if I pop over here, we can check so this is my live stream that I did with the Gigabyte G5. It did, I believe that's 86. Let me just play this.
Okay, but still, our average FPS was 85. Okay.
85.7, so basically 86 for the Gigabyte G5. And the Katana did 109. So that's with an RTX 4070. So 86 to 109. And I'm curious what we're going to get with this, because this is a much higher wattage 4060, right? So, what's up, Black Dust? I feel like 16 inch is the sweet spot. Yeah, if you like portability and performance, I think 16 inch is the sweet spot as well. It's a very good area. What's the nit count and DCI P3 for this 1080p display? So we did the display test a little bit ago, real bilateral. We did, it was 284 nits brightness with 93% sRGB, and I think it was around 70% P3 color gamut. But if you factor in that my Spyder 5 Elite underestimates the color gamut, it's probably closer to the 100% sRGB claim, and then that would probably boost it to 70, what is that, about 78% P3 color gamut? Unless it was 60%, I can't remember if it was 60% or 70%. We did do the test though earlier in the live stream, so go check that. I'll just pop back over to it and we'll see. I'll give you the exact numbers here in a moment. Do 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 do. Okay, I'm here. I'm checking. It was yeah, so it was 94% sRGB, 73% of Adobe NP3 color gamut. So if you factor in my underestimation of the Spyder 5 Elite, then you're looking at about 80% Adobe NP3 color gamut, which is very good for a more budget-friendly laptop. Yeah, all right. How big is the difference between a 16-inch and an 18-inch laptop? That's a good question. So it depends on the 16-inch and 18-inch because some 16 inches are actually pretty large, like the Zephyrus, or sorry, for like the Alienware M16. That sucker is pretty beefy, deep, wide for a 16-inch chassis. And like the Razer Blade 18 is only a little bit bigger than that 16-inch, right? But then you look at a 16-inch like the Zephyrus G16 here, and this guy is very small compared to like the Blade 18 because it is very, very efficiently designed for the size. And looks like our drivers are installed. All right. We are on 531.18. So hopefully... Oh, okay. It's giving us G-Sync is connected. Everything is wigging out. Oh my goodness. We probably want to give this driver a restart, I think. All right. That's a hilarious bug. All right, let's go ahead and restart it, and hopefully that fixes our driver issue. Goodness. Oh, you guys couldn't see that? All right. Sorry, you guys missed the bug. I heard it restarted. Basically, everything was ghosting, like across the screen. So. Screen is black. My camera's out. No, my screen. It was on the other camera window, is why. Sorry about that. You guys missed it. Okay, so the laptop's restarting now. Hopefully, the NVIDIA driver is working properly now. We can play Cyberpunk. But that's the most common reason why a game like Cyberpunk wouldn't work is just because you need to do a driver update. But if we keep running into issues, there might be something else going on here. Might have more things to do driver updates. Could be like a sound issue, like upgrade the sound drivers, and yeah, it's one of those things where when you buy a brand new laptop, you have to kind of expect driver issues. Almost every single laptop at launch will have some driver issues. Just hoping, the biggest thing is you hope it's not a showstopper bug, right? You don't want showstopper, like ruining your experience type of bugs. So, all right, so we're going to jump over to manual mode. We're going to activate manual mode. It's going to turn the fans on to maximum. And we are going to try loading into Cyberpunk again, all right? And we're going to need Afterburner opened as well. Beautiful. So we're testing all these games on manual fan mode, maximum performance settings in the sliders pretty much, but not the overclock settings. The overclock we're just going to leave at the default, which is plus 50 on the core clock, plus 100 on the memory. Pretty much every single laptop can do that kind of an overclock from what I've seen. A clean install of Windows can make things faster. Yeah, they can. Sometimes it can mess up. I'll have to make a video about it sometime, but I want to make a guide on how to more efficiently upgrade your laptop from one to the next. Okay. So we want to do 1080p, 16:9, so we can do a comparable benchmark versus the 4070 and the 4060 that we've done previously. Let's see if we can run the benchmark this time. Fingers crossed. Please work for us. Valorant testing, please. We don't have Valorant installed today, so we won't be doing Valorant, at least not today. All right. Hey, we're running. Okay, so looking at our power, we're doing 95 watts to the GPU. Oh, there's 102. All right, so we got at least over 100 for a moment, but only doing 98 and 45. Looks like 35 to 45 on the CPU. Look at our temps, though. Our temperatures are really good. 70 degrees, 72 degrees. Notice our VRAM is basically maxed out. You see that? We're at 7.5 gigs of VRAM. We only have 8, and there's always got to be a little wiggle room. You pretty much will never see the full 8 being utilized. So we're not seeing any stutters, though. Our 1% lows are excellent at 69. Wow, our CPU utilization here hitting 100 watts for a moment there with all these NPCs coming out. This is obviously very smooth gameplay. Wow, our average FPS was 102. Hoo-wee. So let's make sure that nothing else is wrong. Like we did DLSS on quality, frame generation, yes, okay. Wow, okay, so popping back over to our results that we had with so here is the MSI Katana. It did 109. This Katana has a 4070, but lower wattage. We only did 7 more FPS with the 4070 versus this 4060. So that's wow. Okay, that is such a little difference. And this one got 86 FPS, 85.7 FPS. So we did almost 15. We did 16 more FPS with this Zephyrus G16 than the Gigabyte G5, which is a huge performance gap given, I mean, you're dealing with only 8 gigs of RAM in the Gigabyte G5. That can limit things. And then it's also only single channel. This is also only single channel. But imagine if this had dual channel. We might even be pushing closer to that Katana number for performance. So this G16 is doing well, in my opinion. All right, let's go ahead and do the native resolution. 1920 by 1200. And let's do another test. Can you test Warzone 2? It won't be today because we only have limited SSD space on this laptop. Only 512 gigs, so I can only install... I only could install 6 games, but I had to remove one of them because we were already maxed. So... Britt with the $5 super chat. He says, I emailed you. Let me know what you think. All right, let me... So I just reset the FPS. Okay. It appears that NVIDIA and AMD have a tough time with their latest GPU drivers, noticeably increasing the CPU strain by NVIDIA container. Interesting. Well, I'm sure NVIDIA will fix this issue later. Okay, so that's only affecting after you close games, though. Maybe that doesn't affect while you're actually playing the game, you know? I don't know. That's interesting, though. Huh. Pretty interesting. I don't know. I'd have to actually see a specific example of it. I haven't noticed anything like that yet, but I haven't done too much testing. Okay, so we can't see the performance number. Let me just adjust this to be 450, I guess. Nope, that's not the way to go. Let's go 350, I guess. Okay, so we got 89.8 for our native resolution for Cyberpunk. That's going to be very playable. So compared to 1080p, laptops going with a 16 by 10 then is going to take about 10 or 12 performance points percentages away from your FPS gains, right? So going 16 by 10 is more demanding on the GPU. So it's very important to keep in mind. Let's go and do one run. Let's do another run with, let's do ray tracing. Let's do no ray tracing. Let's do everything on ultra. And we'll do DLSS on quality with frame gen. So everything's set to ultra with no ray tracing. Frame gen and DLSS on quality. Let's see what we get. So basically, if you're like, I can live without ray tracing in this game, and which in many games you can, but you still want to increase your frame rate, right? This is what you're going to do in a lot of budget gaming laptops, similar to this one, to increase your frame rate and get better performance. You know, if you're wanting to play closer to your 144 frames per second or 165 hertz display like this laptop has, and you want a smoother experience, then this is what I would do. I would disable ray tracing probably as the first feature, or potentially use a lower level of DLSS, maybe down to balanced. But you go too far in DLSS, especially only at 1080p, it starts breaking up and having a lot of artifacting. So I wouldn't really recommend that. I try to keep DLSS on quality, if at all possible, because it is much better in my opinion. Any chance of reviewing the Strix G16? Yeah, I would love to review the Strix G16. I just, I need to find it in stock, order that sucker, or get it from Asus, one of the two. I just realized that 87 FPS was with ray tracing. That's impressive, yeah. I do think it's very impressive. Frame generation really does boost the FPS, and it really improves your overall experience without causing much artifacting or issues from my experience. So let's see what we get. 124.5 it looks like. 124.55. So basically 125 we round up. For full HD plus, DLSS and quality, frame generation set to yes. Now, frame generation does cause increase the latency, but I still think it's worth using in single player games, but never use it for competitive games. Is 1440p gaming worth the extra bucks compared to full HD plus? On this level of display, like a 16-inch or smaller, I don't know that it's necessarily worth it in a budget system. I say that because, you know, you're gonna get a lot higher frames at full HD or full HD plus. Let's do no frame gen, no DLSS, right? No frame gen, no DLSS, no ray tracing, all raw, and we'll see what we do. So 1440p, I think, is a huge difference on a 17 or 18-inch display. On a 16-inch display, it is a difference. It is noticeable, but you do need the more powerful GPU to do it. Hopefully with more VRAM too, right? You want more VRAM, ideally 12 gigs or maybe 16 gigs of VRAM to go to QHD gaming, because the texture size increase is noticeable when you up the resolution. So, you know, like 8 gigs of VRAM might be enough in Hogwarts or in future games at full HD, but you go to QHD, only having 8 gigs of VRAM, you'll be more likely to have to struggle to, you know, down textures, or you may even run into scenarios where you'll never have enough VRAM for certain games that are poorly optimized and have bad developers that don't know how to optimize their textures right. So it really depends. Oh, interesting. Our GPU wattage is hitting above 100 now that we have ray tracing, DLSS, and frame generation off. You know, those features, especially ray tracing, can be fairly CPU intensive. So that allowed our GPU to boost higher. And I love seeing that we're going over 100 watts in this game. And I'm curious to see if we'll see that in other games as well. Okay, so native resolution, all of these settings set to off, and disabled all the NVIDIA stuff set to off. Just ultra settings. Looks like we got 71.4. So very good performance in Cyberpunk. Extremely playable performance, right? Like, that's the most important thing. You want to be able to play these games smoothly and ideally at 100, like all max. Like if this can play all of these high demanding games at ultra settings here, I mean, it's such a great experience. I mean, if you think about it, like you're spending $14.49, but you can play all the games on literally max settings smoothly. Then that's fantastic. Now you still have to try to weigh: do you go for RTX 3000 series or 4000 series? And I think that's really going to come down to the type of gamer you are. For me, I think the biggest thing is if you're an esports gamer, you should go 3000 series, because esports games are all about raw GPU performance. And really, if you're an esports gamer, you probably would need at least 240 hertz display and a good CPU. And so basically for esports gaming, getting something with a 240 hertz display should be a higher priority than going with 4000 series. But if you're going for like mainly single player games or more of a casual gaming with some esports games on the side, then I think going with an RTX 4000 series GPU can make more sense because of frame generation. So, you really got to factor in the type of gamer you are. Do you play MMOs? Well, MMOs don't have frame generation, at least not yet. Maybe they will implement that in the future. But so essentially, to me, that means that, maybe frame generation is not going to be a factor there. So go for an RTX 3000 series laptop. If you're like a Dota player or, an MMO player like League of Legends, it probably doesn't matter because you're going to get enough frames on either generation. And at that point, you're probably looking at just like, which one has the better features, the better build quality, the better display for the money. And at least that's something I'm really liking about this G16 so far. It's like the whole package in one laptop, where you get a good enough display, it's portable, a good keyboard, a great trackpad, from some fairly good speakers so far from what I'm hearing. We'll do a dedicated speaker test here in a little bit. But so far, I'm very impressed. Won't frame gen solve issues such as reaching 60 FPS on 1440p? Yes, absolutely. Rocking frame gen for QHD gaming is going to help you hit better overall performance for sure in QHD gaming, and especially if you're a single player gamer. I think if you're going to primarily play single player games, it really makes a lot of sense going for a 4000 series. But if you're, like I said, if you're an esports gamer, 3000 series is likely, like going for like a Legion 5 with a 3070 Ti, maybe a lot better option. Obviously, I don't think that's a 240 hertz display, but something like that MSI Delta 15, it had a full HD 240 hertz display for $899. It's not on sale anymore, but that's the type of deal I would I would recommend to someone who's an esports gamer on a budget. But if you're more of a casual gamer, then something like this I think does make more sense. Or if you need more portability, like this is a really portable system and a more premium laptop experience overall. Okay, so we are at full HD plus, I believe. We're on ultra settings. DLSS is on quality. We want to go to here. We want to set this to 1080p so we can do our comparison. All right. We're going to load into our game. Will these laptops also hit the same frames when connected to a larger external display like a 4K TV? So Chris, it's all going to depend on what resolution you play on that TV. Just because a TV is 4K doesn't mean that you have to play the game at 4K. You could play it at 1080p and upscale it. Or alternatively, you could play it at native 4K on the TV and just use DLSS on like performance or ultra performance mode to upscale something that's essentially like a 1080p image up to that 4K and get probably better image quality, better overall image for that giant monitor. Basically, that's probably what I would do. Like if I was playing like Hogwarts on a 4K TV, I would play at native 4K or maybe QHD, and then I would utilize DLSS to upscale at a higher level than quality. I wouldn't use quality on a lower end hardware. Yeah, but you can absolutely play external. You can absolutely use external displays with these kinds of laptops, but the biggest thing to keep in mind is it all depends on the resolution you're pushing to that external monitor. Because if it's 1080p, then you're going to get the same frames what we're getting right now. We're at 1080p 16:9 resolution. All right, so wow, this is such an interesting scenario. All right, so let's talk about this right now. We're getting very interesting results. Okay. Right now, I believe we are CPU bound. Okay. We are pulling 75 watts on the CPU, 93% GPU utilization, 85%. We saw lower even GPU utilization than this a little bit ago. But the key here is our CPU is also hitting high temperatures, 95, 97. So we're reaching, I believe, thermal throttling levels with our CPU right now. Our frames are good, though, right? It's not causing massive stuttering, so that's good at least. That said, you may want to go in and manually set the power limit lower than what we're seeing right here if you want to have better CPU utilization here or better CPU temps in this game. Okay, so this is where we do our test. Here we go. All right, so now we're walking. 1080p. See what we get. That's more watts on the CPU than the thick Razors this year sustain. Well, I haven't tested this game yet on the Razer Blade series. We'll have to see, because this game really demands a lot on the CPU. To reach full 100% GPU utilization is very difficult. And we saw a really high wattage on the Scar 18. We were doing like 120 watts through the i9 processor in Dead Space. So pretty freaking nutso, actually. Wow. I mean, this is extremely playable, obviously. Our 1% lows are very good. Did it reset there? I mean, it did 8350 is what it had here, but I wasn't seeing it move around there at the end. Let me just check the stream. Okay, yeah, it was counting it. So 8350, let's see. I believe I tested this with the Gigabyte G5, I think. No, I didn't do the G5. Let me see if I did. Did I do the G Katana? No, I didn't do the Katana either. Okay, so this is the first time I'm testing this on a 4060, so we don't have anything to compare this with, but 8350 for full HD 16:9. Let's do some full HD plus. Do one pass with that. Oops, I canceled it. All right, and I want to point out that right now, the wrist rest is getting a little bit warm, and the WASD keys are also getting a bit warm. It's not as hot as what the Blade 16 was, but it's definitely on the warm side. I mean, this is a very smooth, good gaming experience. Everything's on ultra, right? Like that's good. I cannot save it. There's no manual saves. All right. Here we go. We're on full HD plus now, 16:9 or 16:10. So the native resolution of the display. And right now we are CPU bottlenecked, it appears. And we're pulling. It's pretty incredible that this system is able to do, like a system this thin and light is doing 165 watts right now through the system. it's pretty nuts for a thin and a thin and light laptop. Normally, you're seeing more like 120 or 130 watts through a system like this. All right. So we are getting very high CPU temps overall, but the performance is surprisingly good. Wow, this game in this game we lost very few frames switching between the resolutions, and I believe that is because we were CPU bound rather than GPU bound. So the difference in switching the resolution did not affect us very much. Let's hop into God of War now. Okay, so Spencer says, checking chat. I have a 2022 G15 with a 3060, but it always overclocks it too much, and you can see the wattages drop down into like 50 watts, then back up. Is this just the laptop, or is there an issue with it? So most likely, Spencer, if your GPU wattage is dropping down to 50 watts, you are most likely being CPU bottlenecked. So I'm not sure what game you're playing, but I'm guessing you're being CPU bottlenecked. So you want to be monitoring, if you're monitoring the performance, you want to be monitoring the CPU performance as well as the GPU performance. And you want to understand why the GPU is dropping. So going into our display settings, right now we're at native resolution. Let's switch this off. Well, let's do quality, and I want to do 16:9 though. Yes, 16:9. All right. What? Wait. Wait, what? Oh, this is sharpening. Okay, so it's gonna render at 1080p and I'll upscale it. It's gonna render at 16:9 and upscale it to 16:10. That's fine. Whatever. All right, we're on all ultra settings. Albert says, imagine using this on vacation or in a hot country. Yeah, so if what you would need to do if you're in a warm environment with, say, no air conditioning or something, what you're going to need to do is power limit this guy a little lower, or it's going to just thermal throttle a little lower, you know? All right, so we are in 1080p, quality, all ultra settings. Right now is it locked to 60 FPS? Okay, no, it's going above 60. Okay, it's just right here. It's just a little lower. All right, so in 3, 2, 1, let's do this test. We're hitting 115 watts on the GPU there, 103, 104. It's nice to see that we're getting wattages above 100. We're being GPU limited here. We're hitting basically 199, 100% usage of the GPU. We got 6630. Let's check. I believe I did this one on... Yes, I did. Okay, so here we are. So here's the run right here of the Katana 15 with a 4070. It's doing 76. So the 4070 in this scenario would get you 10 more FPS in God of War with the same settings. All right, let's do another run where we go to 16:10, and we'll do everything the same settings, and we'll see what we get. All right, so now we don't have black bars on the top or bottom, and we'll see, because now that we're not CPU bottlenecked, so this game we should see less FPS. So at 16:9 we got 6630. 16:10, I'm expecting more like 60 or maybe like 62, somewhere in that range. I'm guessing 61, 62. All right. All right, so here we are. Wow. We're actually not doing bad. What? We got 66. So 65. Okay, 65. So only 1 FPS difference going 16 by 9 to 16 by 10 there. Wow. I'm impressed. I'm actually surprised. Like, I was expecting more of a difference. And I gotta say, our temperatures in this game are excellent. We're below 80 on the CPU and the GPU with 98 GPU, 98% GPU utilization, and our VRAM is good. So this game is obviously gonna play extremely well with this laptop. So that's very, very good. Nice boost clocks. Yeah, this laptop is playing this game flawlessly right now. All right. Let's move on to The Witcher 3. So, yeah. Freddie says, don't want to power limit, so this laptop is too hot for India, which averages 30 plus degrees Celsius. Yeah, if you're going to use outside temps that are warmer, you're going to have to get creative, right? You might need to get a laptop cooler. Like if you say you live in a house that's not air conditioned, right? That's a real possibility for some people, right? You live in a house that's not air conditioned and it's averaging 30 degrees Celsius, which is, what is that, like 80, high 80s? Fahrenheit. So I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head how hot that is for Fahrenheit, but it's not cool. Is the fan still loud like the Zephyrus M16? All right. So we should have Mike again. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so here we are. We're using frame generation, Witcher on Ultra, ray tracing on Ultra, DLSS is on quality. Our temps are excellent right now. So Witcher always has some stuttering issues when you're loading into the map. So I like running around and looking at all the different angles to load the textures in. After that, it's usually a bit better. Anyway, all right, so let's see what we get. This is a game where I probably would shoot for like a 90 FPS refresh rate target. I did an extra jump there. We are swimming. Wow. Okay. We're averaging 79 so far. I'm impressed. It's impressive. Let's see here. Do I have anything to compare this with? Let's find out. Yes, we do. We have Gigabyte G5 4060.
DLSS on quality.
Let me turn that off and all right. Here we are in the test. So the same 4060, 75 watts though. Got 69 FPS, so 10 FPS lower than this one. Wow. All right. That's the power of having a higher TDP, right? So let's run back and we'll do another test. Is ray tracing on? Yeah, they ray tracing is enabled. You missed the answer for the high temp countries. Okay, so if you're in a high temp country, I would recommend getting a laptop cooler. I would recommend playing in the shade. Don't let the laptop be in the sun. I would recommend I'd recommend something like max fans to be used more often. And then if you're still getting lower levels of performance, at that point, I would recommend power limiting either the CPU or the GPU or both. And by power limiting the GPU, you can use something like Afterburner to power limit it. You could also use the curve editor to undervolt it. That could also help boost performance in that kind of very high temperature limited situation. All right, so let's go to our full resolution. And let's see here. I'm debating if I should do anything else, because I could change ray tracing off. Yeah, it's whatever. Let's roll one more time through here with our 16:10 aspect ratio. So the first run, 16:9, we got 79:41. I gotta say, this looks much cleaner of an image to me, being that it's now native resolution rather than a modified resolution. It really makes a big difference for clarity. Maybe look into one of the water-cooled laptops, and if you're really in a really hot environment, that's not a bad option. So that would be like the XMG laptops, like the XMG Neo 16 and 17, or maybe the electronics mech laptops. Both of those are going to really help cool down your CPU and GPU a bit better than just air, right? So 7950 for the full HD standard. That is excellent, right? I'm very impressed. XMG don't seem that high quality. I think that they're a high quality laptop. I do have an XMG Neo 17 in a box in the room. But it's the pre-quality control one, so I can't use it in any tests. They're going to send me a new one that I can actually do full testing on. So can you still undervolt NVIDIA GPUs with VBIOS mods? I'd like to undervolt my 3080 in my Legion 7i. I'm not sure, Masses, if they allow it through VBIOS mods, but I'm pretty confident. I haven't done it yet. In the 4060, I haven't done it in a 4000 series yet, but I'm pretty confident that you can do an undervolt with MSI Afterburner in the curve editor. It's kind of complex. You have to learn all the hotkeys, but I'm going to do a tutorial. I'm hoping to do a tutorial on it after I test it and make sure that it's working as I'm expecting it to. If you have high humidity, high temp ambient is really hard to overcome the thermodynamics. Yeah. The only flaw is XMG doesn't exist in the United States. Yeah, there's electronics is the same laptop as the XMG. What is the display resolution? It is 1920 by 1200, 16 by 10 aspect ratio. So a nice resolution, I think, for a 16-inch laptop. The pixel density with 1200p at 16 inches is fine for gaming. I really think it is, Timmy Tech. I think people who have really good eyesight will be able to tell a difference between the Full HD Plus, like what we got on this laptop, and the QHD Plus. But for, like, if you're going to save some money and you're dealing with a 16-inch laptop, like, I don't think the difference is massive unless you have really good eyesight. So it's a good area where you can save money and still have a great experience as a user, you know? So this is the first time I've ever loaded in here. Let's see what the settings are set to. We obviously need to raise the cap to be uncapped. All right, and DLSS is on quality. Wow, okay, so we're already set with everything on max. Ray tracing's on ultra, ray tracing quality is on high, everything else is on ultra. Our texture quality is on ultra. Let's see if we get bad stuttering or not. I think we probably will. But let's see if we get bad stuttering. You can see right here, our DDR4 RAM is basically maxed out at 15 gigs, and we're just in the menu right now. So we'll have to see if that causes stuttering as well, but it should. I'm imagining it's going to limit some performance, and it shows you why getting 32 gigs of memory is a pretty smart idea in general. So at least for games like Hogwarts. I did beat the main story in Hogwarts, by the way. It was awesome. I did enjoy it all the way through. All right, so let's see what we get here. Right now we're doing 75. Our 1% lows are not as bad as the Gigabyte G5. So, if you haven't been able to tell yet, I'm definitely playing this game way better now than I was when I was playing it on the Gigabyte G5. Like, it's pretty interesting actually how big of a difference it makes right now. Not having the stutters from only one 8 gig stick of RAM. Like, this is playing really well overall. The 1% lows are not amazing at 17, but the stuttering is not like big long stutters. They're like little quick ones occasionally, and they're not happening that often. So I want to go to a daylight environment. That was a big stutter there, moving away from that area. Oftentimes when you move from one area to the next area, you get the big stutter differences. All right, so I'm just noticing that the display was kind of getting a lot of reflections there, so I went ahead and turned off my display behind me so you can see this a little bit better at least. My goodness, the darks on this are very dark. Okay, so moving into this area, we are also getting some kind of load-in stutters. I think that's probably because of our only 16 gigs of RAM. You know, there's only so much that this game can hold in terms of like in the memory at one point. Only 32 FPS right now. Let's see here. What is our issue? We're getting 100% GPU utilization. Well, okay, so now that we're in the area for a little while, our FPS came up. I'm guessing this is the reason. We're hitting, we're maxing out the memory, I'm pretty sure. And now that everything's loaded in, it took a little while to load everything in. Now that everything's loaded in, it's fine. Let's go to Hogsmeade, and we'll do a run through Hogsmeade town. You could try turning down the view distance. That's true. It also could be related to our VRAM as well. I am going to turn textures down to low, just because that's the way we've been testing all these other laptops. But it's interesting that the textures being on Ultra didn't kill us. Horrifically, at least. All right, so resetting our FPS counter now. So we're at night right now. We need to change to daytime. So to change to daytime, we can just go in here and press F to wait. And it'll swap to daytime. There'll be a lot more people, a lot more NPCs during the day. This game uses everything. Yeah, it does. It's a very CPU, GPU intensive game. It uses VRAM. It uses regular memory. The optimal experience for Hogwarts is, if you want ultra settings, you need at least 12 gigs of VRAM at 1080p, 16 gigs of VRAM at QHD, like 24 gigs of VRAM at 4K. So you need like a 4090 basically. And then you need a high wattage CPU, a high wattage GPU. You need 32 gigs of RAM if you want to not run into RAM issues. I regularly use 24 to 26 gigs of RAM in Hogwarts on my Blade 18. That said, let's see what the performance is like now that we have lowered the textures down to low, because that's going to help. That's probably going to help with our RAM usage and our VRAM usage, right? Because right now we're not bumping into the max VRAM anymore. Okay, so I have just reset it. Wait, we waited till daytime, right? Why is it? I'm confused. Why are we? Why isn't it daytime? All right, let's just go to potions class. Maybe do the potions class quest. And let's test the memory. All right, or sorry, let's test the speakers during this cinematic. All right. Let's see how loud the speakers can get, comparatively speaking, to the fan noise being on maximum right now. All right, so we are definitely getting some stutters. I gotta say the darks right now are pretty dark. All right, so now it should be daytime, I think. Are we in daytime now? I think we are. Whatever, let's do this. Let's do potions class together, okay? Here we go. I'm gonna hold the mic pretty close to the speakers here.
Potions is one of the most challenging and hazardous subjects taught at this school. As fifth years, you will be required to reach new heights of both
just reset it
and intellect. You will begin this term by brewing a Wigan Weld potion. Mr. Takar, can you tell us why this particular potion might come in handy?
Yes, Professor Sharp. The Wiggenweld potion can be used to sterilize and even heal a variety of injuries.
It can heal some injuries, but not all. Points for Ravenclaw. Before today's class is completed, each of you will have brewed a Wiggenweld potion of your own. You never know when you might need it. Please begin.
The fans are as loud as the speakers, that's correct, but we are in maximum fan mode right now.
Use a strong, even motion when crushing your ingredients.
I will switch it to performance mode. Let's see what that's like. So I just switched to performance mode. Let's see if it turns the fan noise down a little. I think it should. Can you hear it going down? The fan noise is probably almost half as loud as it was.
Please be meticulous when adding powder to your potions. One errant sneeze could be disastrous. I see most of you have not forgotten how to stir. Not an easy potion to brew. Well done. And from what I hear of your recent exploits in Hogsmeade, you'd also do well to practice brewing the defensive Aorus potion. Professor Weasley had you acquire the recipe from J. Pippin's, correct?
Yes, sir.
Good. For the moment you can find the ingredients.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn the audio down a little bit. I'm gonna skip through some of these. It's very impressive, I think. I think the speakers on this are very impressive. In performance mode here, notice our CPU and GPU watts did drop down a fair bit, but the fan noise is very quiet, and our temperatures are still looking pretty good for how quiet the fans are and the power we're putting through.
You did say that.
This Weasley wants me to take and get him a special feather. I skipped through the thing.
I'll get you the...
So he wants me to get him a feather, and we're gonna grab this feather for him. I'm gonna grab those, and now we gotta brew another potion. We'll give him our feather, and
Professor Sharp said that Wiggenweld potion.
Oh, we gotta-
treat in-
Should you chop the dipney or crush it?
so we're gonna brew an Aorus potion.
Now
Takes
we have the mallow sweet and... My God. What's happening? Wait, it's not supposed to... Get it! Oh! Dragon Dog! What happened?
Well done, Gareth.
What now, Mr. Weasley?
Sorry, Professor.
Is this 1080p? This is full HD plus.
Door again. Weasley.
We haven't done our benchmark yet.
Oh, your potion should not be that covered.
Oh, I have to stay here. I have to finish this quest here.
I brewed an Aorus potion as you asked, Professor.
I'm surprised you had the time. You seemed rather busy.
I'm sorry.
In a...
All right, so we'll skip forward.
Each of us has had enough excitement for one day. Class is dismissed.
Okay, so now we can leave the class. Good. All right, now can we go back to Hogsmeade? Should hopefully be daytime now. Yeah, you don't have to run this game on ultra. You can run it on like medium or low settings, and you get way higher FPS, and it'll be less demanding overall. All right, so now we're here in Hogsmeade. Notice all the NPCs. There's a lot of NPCs. It's very CPU demanding in this mode. Fans are still very quiet. You can definitely do gaming with performance mode. If you want to have better fan profile, that's probably the mode I would recommend. But we're going to jump back into manual fan mode again, which is going to max out our fans, do a slight overclock on the GPU as well. All right, so notice our TDPs both jumped up like 20 on both the CPU and the GPU pretty much. It was for like 55, 60. Now we're up to 80 watts, and we were doing like 35, 40. Now we're doing 56, 60 watts on the CPU. All right, and our temperatures also can go a little higher now because we're raising the power limits above. All right, so let's go ahead and do let's do a test. Let's do this at, make sure that our resolution is set to the right one. So right now we're at 1920 by 1200. And I really want to be doing a 1080p test, but let's go. let's go ahead and do this one for now. We may have to change our native resolution on Windows in order to modify the resolution in this. We are definitely getting some stutters, as you'd expect, with only 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. And honestly, this game almost always stutters in Hogwarts no matter what. Or, sorry, in Hogsmeade. Okay, so we got 6616. Let's see if we can change the resolution. Because we want to be able to compare this with the Katana and other laptops that I've done. So let's go in here, pop out into the menu here. Let's do 1080p resolution. All right, it is not registering the new resolution yet, so we're going to need to restart the game. Let's save the game. And go back and reopen the game again. Each stutter and frame rate aligns with poor CPU or low GPU usage. Yes, but that is still, I think, a game engine problem because they're not loading things in smoothly into the game engine. And this happens with my Blade 18. You know, it's not, I don't think it's necessarily a RAM limitation or necessarily a VRAM limitation in this scenario. I think it's a game optimization issue. And if the game engine gets cluttered, too many things trying to be processed, it can't push out the frames, then CPU and GPU utilization will drop just with poor game optimization. I don't know why people don't test on the Uncharted series. Well, Uncharted is a PlayStation game series, and it's not as popular on PC. I think that's the reason why I don't test it. Ever plan on testing Wolong? I don't know. What is Wolong? Is it a game? Antonio Jackson says, I like how quiet it is, and it is still good performance. Yeah, it is still very good performance for how quiet it was in performance mode. It was kind of impressive. It was good. It was a nice balance of performance and quietness. So it's good to see. And this isn't a very demanding game like Hogwarts. So obviously you're going to probably even be able to get quieter if you reduce your frame rate. If you reduce the resolution or settings down and maybe cap your frame rate, you can get this thing to be very, very quiet, I think. All right, so we're going to rerun through here. We're at 1080p now. I wish the 4090 laptops had 24 gigs of VRAM. What a shame. Yeah, especially for 4K, like the GT77 Titan has a 4K native display. Like I would love to see 24 gigs of VRAM on like an option for 4090. Like not necessarily the QHD versions have to have 24 gigs of VRAM, but like the ones with 4K displays, I think would really benefit from 24 gigs of VRAM. You know. Okay, here we are, Hogsmeade. Let's just verify nothing changed in our settings, but we should be at 1080p. Quality, frame generation enabled. Everything's on ultra except textures on low, including ray tracing. We're rocking ray tracing right now on ultra. All right. Let's run. Wee-hee! Our 1% low did stutter there. This is obviously very playable frames, though. On a 4060 laptop, I love to see it. And quite frankly, this is better performance than I was seeing on my RTX 3080. And that's just because of frame generation. Okay, so 7322. 7322, we managed to get another 7 FPS, changing from Full HD plus 16 by 10 to 16 by 9. And let's go ahead and check out our comparison for the Katana or the Gigabyte. Let's see. Here it is right here. All right, so we're in the Gigabyte G5 now. Waiting to see the run through here. Okay, so we're running up the stairs. Looks like we're restarting it. So Gigabyte G5 did 68. We did 5 more FPS than the Gigabyte G5. But the 1% lows were 22 on this laptop, where it was 12 on the G5. So the 1% lows were much worse on the G5. Yeah. Makes sense. That makes sense. All right, so Hogwarts, very playable on this, even though it's only got 16 gigs of single-channel DDR4 memory. I really think we're going to see better performance. Let's go back to that area. Sorry, I want to go back to the forest area where we were getting those really terrible performance down to 30 frames per second until it loaded in. So let's go back over here. Because I'm thinking that we may run into issues if you were to, like, say, fly on the broom from area to area in here, only having 16 gigs of DDR4. So let's see. Let's see if we can run into that issue again now that we have the textures on low. So I'm just looking to replicate that issue, you know? So we were running around here, and so far I'm not seeing that problem come up again. Now, obviously, if you were to turn off ray tracing and leave DLSS on quality and frame generation enabled, I would be expecting in the ballpark of like over 100 FPS, like in the 120s range probably, which would be awesome, right? That'd be pretty sweet. So far, we have not run into that same issue. Our frame rate's very smooth. Our 1% lows are 35, so we're not encountering terrible stutters like we were before when textures were on high. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dark wizards. Those were dark wizards. Can we fight them?
That was a mistake.
Oh, crap. So they have a yellow shield on. It means that we have to use a yellow spell in order to kill them. Yee, we killed him. Beautiful. Okay, so the gameplay's much better now that we turned the textures on low. I'm impressed. It's good. This is better than the Gigabyte G5 for sure, and running into a lot less issues. And I would expect a noticeable bump in performance if we added a second stick of 16 gig, or even an 8 gig stick in here to boost our RAM size. And then because it becomes dual channel, it should also become better performance as well. So beautiful. All right, so is there any other games to test? I think that's all the games for today. Oh, Apex Legends. We got Apex Legends. We're gonna see what our response rate is like on this display. Hopefully it's fast, good response rate with no ghosting. I think we're gonna see that today. And we need to change our startup properties to be plus FPS underscore max 300. Dual channel RAM would help with the dropping the GPU utilization. Yeah, I would agree. I think it would definitely be better. Okay, so restart the game. This dude's channel covers all things. Makes us want to go broke and buy laptops. That's funny. The 4080 laptop seems like a waste in my opinion. The 4090 has the exact same TDP and higher performance. I'd rather have save up and get something more efficient. I think the thing about the 4090 is it costs a nice chunk more, and you may not get that much additional performance gain depending on what game you play, right? If you play a game like Apex Legends, it's the same performance. Wow, that display is very vibrant. You guys can see that, right? That looks like a really good image. Apex Legends had a very colorful image. Hogwarts was kind of like not as vibrant feeling to me. I don't know. It was like almost like it had a weird it was almost like it had a weird color profile applied to the display, making it a little more grayed out or something. I wonder if there's a display setting for that. All right, so right now we're in high settings. We'll turn off VSync though. And we're at native resolution. Let's change that. Let's go 16:9 for now. So we can do comparisons with other 1080p laptops. Okay. Beautiful. I guess high would be 8 gigs of VRAM. And it's interesting that this is what high would be. All right. So Mars says now 95 degrees. It's hot. Yeah. So I'm not worried about that though. Like if this is within spec, you know, if you are occasionally bouncing up to 95 degrees and you're not thermal throttling and causing stutters, I'm not like horrified by it. I do prefer better temps though. I'm not saying I don't prefer better temps. I do. But it's not like it's damaging the machine. And so yeah, I just don't think it's that big a deal. All right. Now, we are in high mode, high settings. Let's see what we get in high settings. And then we'll switch it down to low. We should get a lot higher FPS when we switch to low. All right, so, whoa, okay, my setting, that should be good, okay. My mouse was not set to being sensitive enough. I don't think I explained what the temps very well there. What I mean is essentially Intel and AMD both say that their CPUs are not going to take any damage up to 100 degrees Celsius, right? So it's not that if you see like 90 degrees on your CPU in a laptop, oh my gosh, it's going to fry itself, it's going to fail. I really don't think that's the case. It's far more likely that your VRMs or your fans are going to go out before your CPU is going to encounter any kinds of issues. Even like 5-10 years down the line, I don't think you're going to run into any problems. Now, if you're going above 100 degrees Celsius, that's a problem. Now, if you're hitting 100, you can also see thermal throttling, though. That becomes a bigger issue. Thermal throttling will reduce your performance and potentially cause 1% low stutters. So as long as you're not getting 1% low stutters, it's not awful. Now, this is a very good display overall for responsiveness. I'm enjoying it very much. Let's try changing everything to low and see what we get. Obviously, I do recommend lower temperatures is better, but it's not awful to be higher. I prefer my CPU temps to be in the 85 degree, under 90, but 85 is within a little bit of 85 is the goal for me. Okay, so we're gonna reset and we're gonna start this. So 200 268. This is a very responsive display with almost no ghosting. I don't see any ghosting hardly at all. I would play Apex Legends on this all day and be super happy pretty much. It's only 165 hertz display, but it's better than 144. Not as good as a 240 hertz, especially QHD display. But the frame rate performance is fantastic. And the display's responsiveness allowing you to track enemies is very good for a 165 hertz display. So I'm really enjoying this display. Okay, we got 106 that time. I think my record's 110. To give you an idea, that's very good. All right. Wow. Man Game says, hey, Brandon, with the March 2nd NVIDIA driver, the power limit's grayed out on the MSI. Is that everywhere? I rolled back and it works again. Interesting. Manny, I'm not sure. Which power limit where? Are you talking about in your BIOS? Or in, like, what power limit are you talking about? Let's hop into a match of Team Deathmatch and see how we do. Massa says, hey, you have pretty good aim. Thanks, man. I do love Apex Legends. The 2022 7i Pro Lenovo is claiming in its ad 0 throttling, and they really achieve it. Yeah, they do a good job. They do good job cooling. And afterburner. So Manny, pretty much, I wouldn't be that worried about the power limits and afterburner because you're not really going to be changing them anyway, right? Like they're already at max and you can't go above the max anyway. So I don't think that's a big deal. Apex Legends has TDM. Yeah, they added it with the recent Battle Pass season. It is a battle royale game. It's just nice for hopping into TDM so I can get a lot of action very quickly for you guys. Ooh, Nemesis and Scout. Let's go with that. Okay, so I just refreshed the window here. Let me change one more keybind. Oh, I thought I killed him. Whew. Okay. I did 164, and I needed to do 175 damage to him. All right. I don't really have a good up-close weapon. That's the problem with this weapon loadout. Oh, I messed up that grapple. I got shot from behind too. Dang. Had and kept crashing. No, I don't get the 100% that I previously had. I don't know, man. I'd say that there may be driver issues with that GPU update, and if you're running into driver issues with your laptop, just don't use that driver for now and wait for the next one to come out, and hopefully you won't have that problem. Ooh, we fallen. There must be an enemy over there. Let's go over there to that guy. All the enemies are running away from us. I just want to get some clips killing a few people. All right, we got one. Okay, there's two people there. I don't want to deal with that. Should we get devotion? Oh, let's get the bow a try. The bow is fun. Oh crap, we're dead. I had the OC loaded at startup without the power limit increase. Then things became unstable. Yeah, I kept the old one for now. Yeah. This PC or the GE66 i7 12700H and 3070 Ti. Is it the same price, Jesus? You got to give me the price too, because it's probably not the same price. Goodness gracious. There's just people everywhere up there. They're out for blood. Haha. Alright, going up. I really wanted to kill that one guy. Dang it. I'm just trying to get a couple more kills. Alright, I should really change to a short range weapon. Let's do a short range weapon. Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't change in time. Oh my goodness. I can't see crap. Yeah! We got another kill. Okay. I feel like a little bit less of a failure. Oh, okay, we're dead. Alright, we'll do one more life, and we'll see if we get any more kills, and then we'll call it, move on to the Timespy, alright? And Timespy is the next test. I'm really enjoying, this is a great gameplay experience. I'm enjoying this experience a lot overall. I'm also only doing 16:9 right now. I'm not at native resolution. All right. Okay, so we got another kill. Perfect. It took us a little while. Average 224 FPS, 114 for our 1% lows. That is great. What's up, Elvis? Okay, it's time for Timespy. All right, this is what I'm very curious to see what we get. I'm predicting 9,400, I think. Let's find out. All right. What do you guys think, chat? Let me know in the chat. What do you think we're going to get? All right, so Asus is wondering, this PC or the MSI Raider GE66 i7, let's just assume they're the same price for a moment, though I don't think so. I think you're going to pay more probably for that GE66. Maybe if it's on sale, it's about the same price. For raw performance, I'm thinking the 3070 Ti is going to perform better. So if you're an esports gamer or you're going to play a lot of games that don't have frame gen, the 3070 Ti is the better option, I think. If you're going to play games that are have frame gen mainly, then this one's almost for sure the better choice. This has Windows Hello. It has Advanced Optimus. It has G-Sync. It's going to be more portable than the GE66. The GE66, a thicker laptop. It probably has a better display, though, on the GE66, so that's a nice plus. I'm not sure what the display is, but Jose is thinking 10K plus. Who else is thinking? What are your predictions? 3070 Ti looks like a sweet deal. Yeah, it all depends on pricing, though, because if he's paying like $2,000 for that GE66, which is probably the stock retail price for that right now, that's too much. This is a much better deal. If it's the same price as this, though, I'd probably go with the GE66 with a 3070 Ti. It really depends. Crest, they're thinking 10.5K. It could be that high. Maybe I'm undershooting at 9.4K. I mean, so the Gigabyte G5 got 9,000 stock, 9.5K basically with an OC. We'll see. I don't know. It could be over 10K. I would love it if this thing's over 10K. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is just, are you going to play frame gen games? If you're going to play games that have frame gen, I just feel like it's hard to pass up RTX 4000 series. If you're not going to play games with frame gen, like you love Fortnite, there's no point in getting a 4th gen 4000 series when you can get a laptop with a higher quality display or build quality or cheaper price for the same level of performance. It's almost always that way. Previous gen tech is almost always a better bang for the buck, roughly, compared to RTX. Like the new generation is always a little bit more expensive, a little less performance per dollar, typically, than the previous generation. Now this year, with the 4080 and 4090, it's a huge performance gap too. But with the RTX 4050, 4060, 4070, it becomes a lot harder to decide, because some 4060, 4070 laptops are super overpriced. And then you get ones like this one where it's very moderately priced at $1449 with a good display, Windows Hello, portable form factor, and obviously very good gaming performance for Full HD+. We're playing all of these games on maximum ultra settings with ray tracing at Full HD+, and it's very playable and very good experience. And it's portable, and it's only $1449. So, yeah. I definitely don't care about esports. I like graphics over performance when I can hit 60 FPS. Yeah, if you're looking for 60 plus FPS gameplay in new games for the foreseeable future, I think this is a better buy than like a 3070 or 3070 Ti because of that frame generation. You're going to get much smoother gameplay in more games in the future. Like right now, only 35 games are like confirmed to have DLSS or frame gen, but I think that list is going to grow. I think the technology is great. Even with my slow motion analysis, it still looked really good. Even like the generated frames look really good. And the artifacts that do happen, people are just used to those kind of artifacts happening in games anyway, so they don't really stand out that much, except in certain titles where you have labels or text issues. But that to me is about dev optimization, and it'll get better over time. So that's why I'm mainly leaning towards RTX 4000 series recommendations if you're a single player gamer that wants to hit high frames in those single player games. So looks like 10.5K is more than possible. Ooh, well, maybe we'll see. We'll see. Do you feel it's worth playing more for a 4070 versus 4060? It all depends on pricing, Chicken Fried Corgi. If the 4070 is a lot more, then no. But if it's only like $100 or $200 more, then yeah, probably worth it. Holy schmoly! 10.6K. I actually was not expecting this to score this high. Because only a 75 watt did 9,000. We were doing like 105. And wow, 10.63. Okay, so in this scenario, it becomes a little bit easier to definitely recommend this potentially over that GE66, as long as the GE66 is not cheaper. If the GE66 is cheaper, then it still is pretty competitive. That is higher than I thought, for sure. What does a 130 watt 3060 normally score? I've got that for you right here. Let me pull it up. So right here is a Timespy graphics showing a bunch of different laptops that I have tested. And you can see that we got 8,959 on the Legion 7 130 watt RTX 3060. So this score that we got here is 2,680 higher or something like that, which is about a 20. Let's factor it up. Let's factor it up. How much percentage gain is that? We're going to overclock and try Timespy again, by the way, everybody. So don't go anywhere yet. So 10,630 minus 8,959. Oh, that's 1,970. I was doing bad math there. Okay, so 1,679 divided by 89.59. So that's an 18.7% increase in performance. So basically 19% if you round it up. Wow. All right. And this is not a max TDP 4060, right? This is not a max TDP 4060. I'm expecting now over 11K for a 4060 at max TDP, because this is only, we were doing like what, like 105 to 110 watts during that test for a lot of it. And yeah, shabam. Let's do an overclock session real quick. All right, we're gonna do a quick and dirty overclock. We're gonna loop the graphics test 2 in Timespy. We're gonna pull up MSI Afterburner, and we're gonna slap we're gonna try a 200, 500, and we're gonna see if that's stable. I predict it will be. We'll see. It is higher than a full power 3060. Will a higher TDP 460 do any good? Or is this the limit? No, we are not at the highest TDP limit. Right now we're doing like 105 to 108 on our TDP. And a higher TDP 4060 should be able to hit 140 watts consistently in this test. So at 140 watts consistently, I would certainly expect higher clocks and even better performance. Now, how is the fan? So OC with 11K maybe? Yeah, I'm thinking dark. We're gonna get 11K with a quick and dirty OC. Maybe we'll see. I'm not sure what our clock speed's doing. We're doing 2550 nonstop. I'm not seeing any increase to the clock speed, which is interesting. I'm not sure what we were doing before without the OC. So we may not see as much gain as we thought. I don't know. We'll see. Steve asks, how is the fan noise with the M16 2022? I almost bought it until I heard they can be pretty loud. So Zephyrus M16 and G16. The G16 is the same thing as the Zephyrus M16 from last year, but it's refreshed. So the G16 has Intel instead of Ryzen, like the G15 had Ryzen. G16 has Intel, and but this year on the G16 we get Windows Hello, a webcam, Intel CPUs, and overall this is a higher quality chassis, I think, by just a little bit. 16:10 aspect ratio on the display is really nice, a nice upgrade. Okay, so let's see if we get any increased performance. We're just locked at this 2550 though, so we may not see any increased performance. Let's just see if we get any kind of ups to the score. So regarding the fan noise, your question was fan noise. This is a laptop where you want to tune the fan noise based on, you can either tune it by putting it into silent mode, performance mode, or turbo mode. Performance mode, the fans are not that loud, and you're getting a little less wattage, like 10 to 20 less watts to the CPU and GPU, and your temps are also going to come down. And the fans will not be that loud. So if you're looking for a quieter fan noise experience, that'll be the way to go. And if you want it quick and dirty, but if you want something more customized, you can set the power limits in manual fan mode, and you can set the fan curve to go up as the temperature goes up, and you can limit the fans that way. So that way you can tune the exact levels of performance, so you get the most performance with the most level of fan noise that you can tolerate. All right, so let's see what we get. Right now our boost clocks are at 2565. We're pretty much locked around there, which is interesting. Our temperatures are phenomenal in Timespy, doing only 68 degrees on this thin chassis. CPU temps are very good as well, but it's not a heavy CPU load in Timespy. 16 by 10 is so much better than 16 by 9. I can't go back to it. Yeah, a lot of people prefer 16 by 10 just because for me, the big thing is the reduced bezels of the laptop. If they can reduce the bezels at 16 by 9 aspect ratio, I don't mind that either. But the reduced bezels is really nice. Crest of Honor asks, so is the 4060 might be the best value card out of this generation? Yeah, maybe, because it's only $100 more than the 4050, and it's situated nicely between the 4050 and 4070 in terms of pricing and performance. But the 4050 is also, I think, going to be very close in performance to the 4060 and only $100 less. So I think the 4050 and 4060 are going to be the best bang for the buck. Maybe the cheap 4080s might be even better bang for the buck or very competitive, especially if they go on sale. Like if eventually you can get a 4080 for like $19.99 or maybe $1,800, then that may beat out these ones even on a performance per dollar basis, but we'll see. But for now, yeah, like a 4050 at $1,000 especially if it's a high wattage 4050 or 4060, like a 4060 under 1500, under 1400. The big thing about the Zephyrus G16 that we're seeing here is that it's a more premium overall package with a better display, you got a webcam with Windows Hello, good speakers, good fan profile tuning, portability, and still a very good level of performance. While we're doing 116, I saw 119 for a second there in the wattage. I like to see that. Our GPU clock, though, has just been sitting at 2550. So I don't know if we're going to see much improvement in our Timespy score or not. I also expect prices to come down quickly like they did with the 30 series. I remember them launching for similar pricing. Yeah, no, I think some of the laptops are going to come down a bit more quickly than others. But I think it all comes down to demand. So once the demand starts falling off and laptops, the high-end laptops, the popular laptops are available in stock, that's when pricing is going to come down. But we already saw a sale on the Omen 17 for $200 off right now. So if you're looking for a cheaper 4080 or 4090 laptop, that's a pretty delicious option. Wow, our CPU utilization going up to 100 watts on that quick and dirty Timespy CPU test. Pretty nice to see that. Being able to quickly jump between CPU and GPU loads. Sometimes they don't go as high as that. Okay, so we got 10,749 with our quick and dirty overclock. So not much of a gain there. CPU score is also not amazing at only 9,458, but it's still good for a mid-range budget-ish kind of laptop here at 1449. Last test we're doing is a speaker test, and then we're going to do a summary wrap-up of everything for this laptop. All right, so we're going to go to Art List. And so speaker test, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and get signed in here. Beautiful. All right. We're going to back this guy up. Let me turn the display brightness down a little so we can see the laptop a little bit better. All right, there we go. All right, so here we go. Let's change the fan profile. We're going to use the hotkey, and we're going to do FN plus F5 to change the fan profile down to performance. And that should knock our fan noise down pretty much to dead. All right, so beautiful. So we're going to set our volume to maximum with our hotkey here. And we're going to set our volume down here to maximum. And here is Roar by Peter Spacey. Also, is there any sound? Is there any sound apps for this laptop? Armory crate has an audio mode. I'm not sure exactly how it's set up. Last time they had some kind of sound. Not a Nahimic. Does it have THX? Dolby Access? Maybe it's Dolby Atmos? Yeah, okay, so going into settings. So right here you can see there is music and dynamic. We're gonna set it to dynamic. All right, and let's see what that sounds like. Here is Roar by Peter Spacey. I'm gonna set the mic. We're gonna do the mic about 10 inches in front of the laptop, kind of where you would be. All right, all right. Wow, that's better than I thought it was going to be. All right, here's a Half-Life by Faded Aeon. I'm gonna try changing the profile here to music. Yeah, it was hard for me to tell. There's a very little difference with changing the profile, but I think dynamic sounded the loudest. Wow. Okay, these speakers are really good. I would say they're just a hair behind what the Scar 18 had. Scar 18 had a little better clarity, a little better bass. A little bit behind still, you know, obviously the Blade 18, Blade 16 are better than this. But I would say this is better than the Strix G18 and better than the Alienware M16. Way better, obviously, than any of these other budget laptops like on the Katana or the Gigabyte G5. Like, these speakers are in a mid to high tier. Like, I'd probably give them an 8.2, probably 8.3, somewhere in that range. Like a Scar 18 was like 8.7. The Blade 18 was a 9.5. So these are up there, and you can certainly use these to listen to your music, and it's going to sound really good. It's going to fill a room with some high quality audio. Okay, so let's recap everything. It's recap time. Okay. All right. So, let's start at the beginning. Taking this laptop chassis apart is fairly easy with pop-up screws. It's thin, it's portable, it's lighter than the vast majority of competition. The TDP limits on it are lower than what you're going to get on a thicker laptop with bigger, beefier cooling, but this thing only weighs 4.4 pounds with a 16 inch display, 16 by 10. The display is also very good. As you can see right now, it's very colorful. It's a vibrant, bright display. It's not as vibrant or bright as the newer 500 nit 100% DCI P3 color gamut displays, but this thing is still way better than many of the competition in like the $1,000 to $1,100, $1,200 pricing categories. Very, very good overall display. 165 hertz full HD display, very responsive in Apex Legends. I could aim and shoot really, really well without any kinds of issues. The keyboard feels great. It's not quite as premium as what you get on something like the Blade 18. It's not mechanical, but the feel is good. The layout is good. No number pad. The touchpad is phenomenal. It's got a great click. It's got a good size. It's a glass touchpad, large enough for multi-touch gestures. The Windows Hello worked really well overall for me. I didn't have any issues. We didn't check out the webcam quality yet. Let's just pull that up while we're here. And I guess let me just switch the camera one more time so you can kind of see. It's not a very amazing webcam. There we go. Okay, so you can see it's pretty dang grainy, not that high a resolution. Your typical mediocre, bad gaming laptop webcam, but it is Windows Hello compatible, so that's nice. All right. So, yep. Okay, and continuing on with the summary, 1080p gaming on this is going to be phenomenal. Like, we were running ultra settings, ray tracing on, everything was playable, even at maximum frame rates or maximum settings. I like that it's the new version basically of the Zephyrus M16 in a 16-inch chassis that's more approachable price tag at $1,449. I feel like $1,449, this is very good value. Even against RTX 3000 series laptops, it's got 10.6K in Timespy, which was higher than I was expecting. And now I think you can still potentially get more raw performance from a 3070 or maybe a 3070 Ti laptop at around the $1,500 price point, but it's not by that large of a margin. And the 3000 series doesn't have frame generation. And in frame generation games, this laptop will basically double the performance of the 3070 Ti in games like Hogwarts, Cyberpunk, stuff like that. The gameplay in single player games basically is going to be phenomenally better. If you're an esports player, I would say go for an RTX 3000 series instead. I went over a ton of options at the beginning of this live stream that are good competitors to this. I think the MSI Pulse 15 has a lot of potential. The Legion 5 for the 3070 Ti has a lot of value to it. Right now, it's probably the best competitor at around $1,500, I think, with this machine, but it's 3000 series. So if you're a single player gamer, I'd probably recommend this over that. But if you don't just play single player games and you do a lot of esports games or other types of games where frame generation is not supported, I do think the Legion 5 is probably a little better choice than this from a raw performance standpoint. But from a usability standpoint, this has Windows Hello. This has a really nice display overall and a nice portable form factor, right? Battery life on this, I think, is going to be, it's not 90 watt hour battery with an i7, less cores. Depending on how you optimize it, it's in the 3 to 5 hours for web browsing, but I'm sure you can get more than that, maybe 4 to 6 hours if you optimize it really, really well. I need to do more actual detailed testing on the battery life, but yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be in that ballpark. Definitely 4 to 6 hours in that range for most users in typical use scenarios. But it might be as low as 3 hours if you're just completely unoptimized, right? Like your maximum brightness on the integrated graphics, right? If you're gaming on this thing, you're looking at maybe like hour and a half, if that, right? Hour and a half. When gaming, the performance is going to be not that good. The keyboard backlight on this is also very good. The port selection on this machine is better than the Strix Scar 18. It doesn't make sense to me why they would do that. But Asus puts better ports on this thin and light portable than they do on the Scar 18. It says a micro SD card slot. Other than that, the ports are very similar And the ports are pretty good. I give them like, I think like an 8.5 out of 10. And so they could still be better by a bit, but for the laptop size and portability factor, it's very, very good. And I think for liability wise and style wise, this is a very businessy type of design with very minimal RGB. And it's got this nice holographic back. Some people are going to like that. Some people are going to hate that. But I think most people just kind of like this. It's got a nice little added touch that, that Asus does. And so, yeah, I absolutely can recommend this laptop. I give it, I don't know, like a 9 out of 10 overall. It's very, very compelling package overall with very well-rounded device. Good inputs, good ports, good enough display, great overall performance to basically kill 1080p gaming very, very well. And really what it comes down to whether you should get this laptop versus another one is what is the price to performance ratios and what kind of other key features does that laptop have versus this laptop. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts about this laptop. And looking at chat, seeing if you guys have any questions before we go. But other than that, that pretty much wraps up this live stream. I think, yeah, this is definitely a laptop I can recommend. Didn't run into any deal breakers or showstopper issues. If you do buy this laptop, I do also recommend that you pick up a second 16 gig stick of DDR4 3200 megahertz RAM, because then you're going to get dual channel. You're going to expect better performance overall. And then games like Hogwarts will also have less stuttering issues, and you'll be more future-proofed for those games that need a lot of RAM. So yeah. Okay. That's it for this live stream, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you in the next one. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, Steve says, thanks for the stream. I've been waiting for a review on this for a long time. Yes, Steve, I'm glad you enjoyed the review. Chris says, is 1080p gaming a good experience? Yeah, I think 1080p gaming is a great experience. I did 1080p gaming on my laptops and 15.6-inch laptop display sizes, and even 17.3-inch laptops display sizes for many years without any problems. It still looks good. It's a great overall experience. I do think QHD is a slightly better experience, but usually you're going to have to pay a premium price for that increased resolution. And also when you jump up to the QHD resolution, you're paying a premium in like the frames that you lose, because at native 1080p, you're going to be getting significantly higher frames than what you do at full HD plus, like on this laptop. So you're going to get, I think, a really great blend of performance, portability, everything about this laptop is going to be, I think, very good. And it's a good, decent bang for the buck with good all around performance. I can recommend it. That's my review right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. I'll update you guys with new data or information if I run into it. I'll see you in the next one, all right? Rohan, real quick, says, will you be reviewing the Zephyrus M16 or have you done it already? Any plans? I don't have any plans to do it right now, but I might do it in the future. The Zephyrus M16 is very similar to this. This is very similar to the M16. This is like the budget version of the M16, all right, basically. So I would just expect higher levels of performance and a better display on the M16, all right? Because you can get the mini LED 1000 nit, 1100 nit display with the M16. But it's also much more expensive, right? This is way more this is way better bang for the buck than what the M16 will be. Okay. Whew. Keeps going. I keep saying it's going to be over, but it just keeps going. Anyway, thanks so much for watching.